You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah?
How sure are you?
I don't want to rush you guys, you know.
Your water's not milky today.
They replaced the filter again.
Is that what it was? Wasn't that?
Well, they had replaced it, and apparently that filter was.
What was wrong with it?
I don't know. It was not filtering properly.
Did you have a Corona filter? Oh, it's too early. Don't say that word. Sorry.
I'll tell you guys a Corona story
Don't. Oh,
after.
did you enjoy the drink?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, definitely.
I did. Happy Monday, everybody. TGIM. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I want to thank everybody who's tuning in on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Clubhouse, which nobody's on, but hey, who am I to judge? Probably talking politics. We have a very special guest with us today. Mr. Arthur Asadurian is here with us.
Yeah.
The man with the YAN and the IAN simultaneously in his last name. Arthur, thanks for taking time to be with us, man.
I appreciate it, guys.
Right, we apologize for Vahan Setyan not being able to join us as well. Unfortunately, he had an emergency work thing that he had to take care of, so he had to kind of take a last-minute flight.
Rain check.
Yeah, but he'll be back.
But we'll have both of you on together for a nice intellectual debate.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Yeah, but thanks for taking time to be with us, bro.
I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm really looking forward to this discussion.
Very nice. So, originally when Armund reached out to us, he said Arthur wants to come on. He was like, he's a pastor, and he's a apologist, right? Something like. And I was like, he's gonna come on and he's gonna apologize. Sorry to everybody. What's going on?
What did you do, Arthur?
Yeah. So he was like, no, it's that's what it is. It's an apologist. I was like, okay. So I went and looked it up, read about it, obviously, and and correct me if I'm wrong. It's basically somebody who teaches the Bible and how to defend the Bible. Is that what it is?
Yeah, in a nutshell, it is. It comes from a Greek word, apologia. That's the word where apologetics comes from.
Uh-huh.
In English, we translate it usually as defense or reason, like to give a reason or to give a defense. And now the word has become kind of maybe secularized. It's used in other religious communities, so people will distinguish it. So they'll say like he's an Islamic apologist or he's a Christian apologist. Pretty much that's saying that this individual gives reasons for whatever it is that they believe. So I would just say an apologist is someone who teaches people what they believe and why they believe it.
I see.
So you're giving reasons for whatever it is. Because most of us have stuff that we believe. We're just not very sure why we believe it.
Basically, yeah.
And that's true in religion. That's true in politics, by the way. It's just true generally.
Well, believe it or not, the left believes a lot of stuff that we're
no reasons.
for no reason.
I'm with you there.
I guess a man could be a woman could be a man, or whatever. But let's go back in time a little bit, because obviously you watched our podcast before. You saw how it is. We kind of like to backtrack a little bit and see, what led, our guest to do what they do and to basically pursue what they're pursuing and what they're doing now. You mentioned off air you weren't even a religious person.
Mm-mm.
So what happened? How did Arthur get kind of get into the whole religious aspect of life and the Bible and becoming an apologist? Is that what it is?
Sure, yeah.
Okay,
that works. And yeah, the apology thing always comes up. Are you just gonna say sorry for everything that you guys have
Just
done?
wear a T-shirt. I apologize.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there's
Hashtag apologize.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are wearing "I'm offended" shirts. You could wear "I apologize" shirts.
Yeah, so I would say, look, I grew up in a very nominal Christian home, meaning that most of us, as Armenians, we grew up in a home. We go to church, Easter, Christmas, weddings, funerals. When you're young, they don't take you to the funerals, but if that, and that's the kind of home I grew up in. When I was in 11th grade, I was now reflecting back upon it. I mean, at the moment, I didn't really know what was going on, but I sort of had this existential crisis because I was asking serious questions and I didn't have anywhere to find the answers. And what's the meaning of life? Why do we even exist? Some of these like more philosophical questions were just seriously keeping me up at night.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's 2002. So, and this is, right, post 9/11. Islam is in the picture quite a bit. People are talking about Islam and stuff, and really intrigued me. It caught my attention. Because for me, I was like, these people really believe whatever it is that they believe. I mean, they're serious enough to die for it.
Yeah.
So, so I started investigating Islam. By investigating, I mean I started reading parts of the Quran. I started paying attention to Islamic teachers, which led me to look at other religions as well. Buddhism, Hinduism. I didn't really look at Christianity because I thought I knew what Christianity was, right? Like because of being Armenian and all that context. So I didn't really investigate Christianity. Ended up meeting some friends in senior year of high school. And after we graduated, they invited me to some kind of a crusade. Just essentially, Angel Stadium was packed, and there was a preacher preaching, Jesus saves you, all that. And I remember just being there, and it was the most awkward place I'd ever found.
Did the guy fly into the place?
No, nothing like that. It wasn't crazy like that. But
you gotta go where I go.
It was weird. It was weird because I'd never been in a context like that. And I was like, dude, what did I get myself into? Like, these are really weird. And all I had in my mind were like Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses.
So you went in with pretty much closed-minded.
I don't
know
if I went
expectations.
I just went because people invited me and I went. But, this guy basically said, whoever wants to accept Jesus, come down. And I had no intention of going down, but everybody I was with went down. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, man, this is weird. I'm not going to stand here. So I went down as well. I went down and then they gave me a New Testament. I went home. I opened it up. And I don't remember what I read, but it was most likely one of the Gospels. I'm guessing Matthew because I probably opened the book in the beginning, the New Testament. And I just read it all night. And just reading the New Testament, and as I was reading that, it just seemed different to me compared to all the other stuff I was reading. It seemed to me that it was more rational. There was more reasons. The story was lining up in the way that a normal story does line up. And then it just really caught my attention. I kept studying that stuff, but I started attending church. And I would say, so that's August, September, like October sometime, I would say what Christians would deem as the gospel. Gospel means good news, by the way, for those who don't know. Avetis, my oldest son's first name, his name is Avetis. It doesn't have a middle name. I don't believe in middle names, by the way. But we name it means good news. That's all gospel means. And
you could have taken a chance and used the middle name for another portion, like another religious name.
Sure, but I kind of think it confuses kids. So I'm like, this is what your name is. You're not going to have a choice.
Do you have a middle name?
Both my girls have middle names.
No, you.
Okay, nice.
No, me no.
You don't.
Armenians don't have a habit
I don't
of
have
giving
middle
names. Yeah.
I have a few
Nicknames.
nicknames.
Yeah, we all do.
You do?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You don't have a middle name?
No.
Jeez.
Do you?
You have a middle name from Armenia?
Yeah.
No.
Vartanov?
No, look,
Vartanovich.
if that doesn't count. Your dad's name as your middle name doesn't
That's
count.
a different one.
That's
bro.
my legal name from the three brothers.
So on your driver's license it
It
says.
says Arno V. Akverdian. And on my everything else from my license, real estate license to my citizenship papers, it says
Yeah.
Arno Vartanovich Akverdian.
So you're licensed real estate, Arno?
Everything says Arno Vartanovich Akverdian.
I like that plug. I like that.
Yeah, everything.
So
Even my marriage license, Edgar.
You have a marriage license.
You have a
too.
marriage license
Wow.
too, bro. You're
This guy went all out.
shit.
This guy just went all
Go big or go home,
Seriously,
man.
lots of licenses.
All these licenses, bro.
I have a marriage license, real estate license, driver's license. What else?
Gun license.
Do you?
Yeah, he does.
No. Guns are bad.
Yeah.
Did you
Look
fail
what-
that one?
No, look what Alec Baldwin did. Anyways, Arthur, continue.
Going back to the story.
Sorry, Arthur.
So the way I explained it is very simply, I think Jesus calls people to follow him in the Bible. I think that's the good news. That's the gospel. And I was presented with what that meant. And I said, okay, I'm going to follow Jesus. So to say I became religious, I was 18 years old and I decided to follow Jesus. We all have different conceptions of what it means to be religious.
Mhm.
And maybe I fit in some of those categories and others I don't fit in them.
But I think the challenge a lot of people have is when they pick up the Bible for the first time is it's intimidating as far as reading and understanding what the meaning is,
Yeah.
right? So how does one do that? I mean, yeah, you can go to Bible study, right? That's one way. There's a lot of apps out there. I'm sure you can YouTube something.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as how is it that you picked up the Bible and you had so much interest and you were comparing the New to the Old Testament, and how did
Can
you
we
have
start there with the new and the old?
Yeah, how did you have an understanding of?
I didn't. I'd never picked up a Bible in my life. Oh, well, sorry, that's not true. I picked up a Bible.
It's impossible,
I'd never
man.
I never read it.
Every hotel in the side drawer has a Bible. In
No,
it.
but
It's impossible.
every Armenian in their homes got Bibles in high places and under pillows and stuff.
Definitely.
First thing I
but-
check every time. Open the drawer, it's a Bible.
There it is.
It's here.
They're meant.
That's
No,
pregame.
it's actually meant for you to be for you to take it.
No,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah, Gideon's, who produces those Bibles, is an organization that passes out Bibles for free.
No shit. And I
So,
was thinking,
I
like,
had
if
a
you take
guy-
it, you're gonna go to hell.
No, so this is what's hilarious, by the way. I had a guy that said, I got to confess something to you. He was a very interesting character, let's just say that. And it was very heavy on his heart, whatever this thing. He's like, I have to tell you this. And I was like, what? He's like, I stole a Bible once. I was like, what do you mean? Like, who'd you steal it from? He's like, I was in a hotel room, and then, I took that Bible. I've been feeling bad for it for years. I told him, bro, that was meant for you to be taken. Like,
Poor guy
Those-
finally got some rest after all
those
years.
people are very happy you took that Bible. But
But hold on, who puts it in there? Is
the
it
Gideon's organization works with
So-
hotels.
So they basically
stock.
stock the hotel up with a bunch of Bibles, and they say
Yeah.
if it's taken, just replace it with another one.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's
That's
their own
interesting.
translation. It's a good translation.
It would be
and
really nice if someone told the rest of the population,
There it is, everyone. If you need a Bible,
Yeah.
Gideon's Bible. They also pass them out. The little ones that you get in
Yeah.
New Testament. That's the
So-
same organization.
Okay, what is the cost of a Bible if you go to the bookstore and buy one?
Depends what
Like,
you're looking
like
at.
$50, $100.
You can get a Bible for $20. You can get it for $5.
How much is a hotel room?
$60.
No,
They
don't have. They
Where
don't
are you?
have it
Where are you staying?
They don't have it in Alvarado, bro.
I was thinking of the book price, $60.
He's staying.
I stayed at Nacho's Reed's place. Yes.
Edgar's staying at a hotel off of Route 66. There's an old man sitting on a rocking chair.
There's only 3 rooms in the whole hotel.
Jesus
bro.
Christ! And there's a dead hooker in one of them.
So, look, the Bible's a complicated book. Going back to it, I think that's a great question you're asking.
Oh
by
my
the
god,
way.
that's hilarious.
And Hector says you understand by first surrendering to Jesus as Lord and Savior. But
Yeah,
surrendering.
that's religious language, by the
yeah.
way. I mean,
What
I
does
call
that-
that Christianese.
Yeah, what does that mean?
John
What does it
understood
mean to
exactly.
surrender? I would say it means to follow Jesus. And I think that's a more clear-cut definition. Sometimes we have like political lingo,
Yeah.
religious lingo, like church lingo. People in churches use kind of words and stuff like that, where the outside world doesn't normally talk like that. In churches sometimes people, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm blessed, brother.
Yeah.
It's like people don't talk like that. That's not normal. Like church folks talk like that. And that's okay maybe in that context. So again, surrendering to Jesus, I would say would be essentially giving up your rights to your life to follow Jesus. And how do you know that? It would be whatever the Bible instructs you on what that looks like. What he's talking about is what I said in very short way, following Jesus.
So what?
Yeah.
Basically,
Following Jesus.
everybody's life is different. So I mean, you're saying surrendering your life. I mean, as far as what though? I mean, just
Your
giving-
purpose.
Everything.
So
Yeah.
I would say this, look,
like my
So
purpose.
you're
my
a
purpose.
real estate agent.
Yeah, my
His
purpose
is to sell houses.
No,
That's
my
fine.
purpose is to provide for my wife and my kids.
sure, that's primary purpose. Yeah.
That's the only purpose that I see in life.
Sure.
Is to basically provide for them, making sure everything I do is for them, and it creates a better future for my daughter and my future kids.
Yeah.
That's my purpose.
That's a pretty selfish purpose right there. That's it.
That's it. Nothing else.
As
How
long as your kids.
Screw the rest.
Fuck everybody.
basically,
Forget the rest of
even
the world.
myself.
He didn't even mention himself. That's the only part where I said
that's
I,
my main.
I give
no,
him props.
no, hold
he
on,
didn't
hold
even
on.
mention himself.
If you're gonna go into detail as far as what else, my main purpose is that. If your main purpose isn't provide for your family and your kids, I don't know what else.
Well,
And again, I'm not
wouldn't
saying
define
other
it as
things.
a main purpose because, your main purpose it changes with different stages.
Wouldn't
in
you guys
life.
say being a good human would be the main purpose?
Yeah.
Top of the list?
Well, yeah. What I mean, ultimately, here's the way I see it is I look at it as when my book comes to an end, right? When somebody reads my book, I'm not literally writing a book, right? The book of my life.
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to say? What have I done? What have I contributed to?
No, that's going
when you say-
deeper into
Well,
what I'm saying, though. You're going into a rabbit hole of what I'm saying.
No.
No.
Yeah, of course.
You said main purpose.
Yeah, that's my main purpose.
But you've been a father for how many years?
4 years.
So you can't say that's the main purpose of your life, can you?
Why can't
I'm not
bigger
saying
than
it's
that,
wrong.
Well,
I'm just
No.
currently, it's a major part of his life.
currently that's what it.
I would
Me-
say any
me-
human being, you're
yeah,
born, your
me
top priority is to be, don't steal, don't hurt nobody, don't
just going
kill
to
nobody.
commandments.
That's it. You're done. Like, just be a good human being.
Look,
That's it.
Yeah, I
again,
mean, we can talk about that. As
yeah,
to what
yeah.
that looks
Again,
like.
you're taking what I'm saying. You're kind of taking it out of context. I mean, as far as being a human being, being a person, being a friend, being a husband, all that
Yeah.
stuff, I understand. But as far as me going to bed, waking up in the mornings, and basically that drive that's in me is for her. It's for the wife. That's what's basically pushing me as far as my main focus. Other things in life, of course, there's so many other things that obviously I've contributed to, but as far as me making those priority, no.
So you have unconditional love for your family.
I have unconditional
Ooh, we're
love.
going
he-
back to that.
He tries to. He tries to.
I try
Oh my
to.
god.
I try to.
I
I have
got-
unconditional
one day,
love for
one
my.
day you guys are gonna all come to terms that there is unconditional love, huh?
No, I mean
You guys are not gonna
we've
come-
discussed
I
this.
still don't agree
We don't
there
agree.
is.
Well, I'm the only one that said.
But
there
we'll
is,
ask
bro, but-
our philosopher
Let's
friend.
ask
here.
Arthur.
He's read.
Well, hold on. We're going. We're
No. I mean,
Yeah, we'll get into
to
it.
that,
But
yeah.
right now, we're as far as we're in
Yeah.
the top. We're in the topic of giving your life to
Yes,
Jesus.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, what does that essentially
Look,
mean?
I would say this because sometimes people think giving your life to Jesus means becoming, a pastor, a priest, whatever religious means
Figure.
in their minds. I would say this: how would Jesus want you to live as a real estate agent, right? How would
Don't cheat.
say yeah? So you don't cheat your
Disclose
customers,
everything.
right?
If you're gonna ask yourself, should I disclose it? Answer is yes.
Look, some of the stuff in any job, okay? So there's like industry secrets, for example, that you're not going
Right.
to disclose,
Right.
and I don't think that's cheating. Okay, maybe that's wisdom. Maybe that's what makes you the best shoemaker on the planet, is because you have this specific way of sewing that nobody else does,
Yeah.
and they got to come study from you in order to learn that, and you're able to sell that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No.
I don't think that. But what I would say is this: following Jesus would mean, are you doing it out of love for your customers? Right? Like, you have a job. Do you actually love your customers? And you got to define love here. I would say love is intending the best for them. So if you're selling a home and you're thinking about the well-being of your customers, you can go to them and say, hey, I know you guys really like this house, but I don't think it's the best for your family. Look at this other one that you guys, or whatever, right? I'm just
Yeah.
coming up with examples. Depending on the job you're in.
I've said that about 7 times this week.
Okay, good.
I
So-
think that's one of the reasons I can't be a realtor, because if I walk into a house and if the family asks me, would you live here? Probably 99.5% of the homes I would say, no. They'd
Yeah,
be
well,
like,
no, that's
can we
not how
look
you-
at the next one?
No, but hold on. That's not what they're even supposed to ask you.
But I think there's a difference between would I live here and do I think you guys can
mind
live here,
you,
right?
and mind you this, you'll know if they like it or not from their body language. Where there's been times I've walked into a house with a client, they've walked around, and right off the bat, like, I know this is not for them. And when they'll ask me, they'll go, what did you think? I'll be like, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's not about what I think. It's not for you. You're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna outgrow it. You didn't like the yard. There's something. I mean, that's how I look at it. I don't look at that as again, not to step on your toes or anything. I don't look at
Step
that
away.
as following Jesus. I look at it as being a good person.
So I would say that I would agree with
Wow.
you. I don't think that is following Jesus. I would say when somebody says,
We're missing
giving
nice
my
comments,
life-
bro.
I'm giving my life to Jesus, then Jesus encompasses your entire life.
but I mean,
Your job, the way you parent, the way you love your wife, or if you're a woman, your husband, and it should be only those two for our left-leaning friends. I think is biblically grounded.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we get that stuff, I think, from traditional Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm saying, when somebody says I'm following Jesus, that means they've accepted that they are sinners before God and need to be forgiven. They've accepted his forgiveness in the sense that...
Of this all,
What do you
Arthur.
mean?
The realistic, like today, nowadays, you know,
Do you mean tangible?
tangible
Okay.
of all this.
Yes.
But hold on, do we want to go into
yeah.
that right now?
I mean,
Hold on to it. I think
It's-
we'll
Yeah,
nice.
no, that's no. I know, but that's gonna
further down. But I mean,
Yeah,
the
it's-
comments are going crazy. Some of these comments are amazing.
That's hold on to that whole tangible finger rubbing thing.
Well,
Sure.
Ninette made a great comment about what you said. She said, "I think it's more of a priority than a purpose."
Yes, that's a priority. I would definitely call what he said a priority, not a purpose.
Look, I would.
But again, it's
But then,
Let's
to
define
each
it like
their
this.
own. I mean, if that's a priority, that's different. To me, that's a priority, not a purpose.
So
I mean,
I'm
it's a-
going to get a bit philosophical here,
Sure,
okay? Because my training's in philosophy.
that's why you're on the show now.
Yeah.
That's why
Come
you're
on
sitting
now,
there,
that's
not
why you're
me
sitting
or
there, bro.
these guys.
So
you get the front view. We got the side view.
my training is on being an asshole. So
here's
I concur.
look. Here's a cup, right?
Uh-huh.
So the creator of the cup, whoever it was or whatever, it was a group
Yeah.
of people or developed slowly, regardless, had a purpose for this cup. Say the purpose was drinking liquid out of it. We won't say coffee because then that'll take us into some,
Yeah,
you know,
of
what the
course.
difference
Yeah,
between a
we-
cup and a mug is.
Yeah, we tend
right?
to digress
this
when it comes to stuff like that.
kind of stuff, and that's okay. But it's to drink liquid out of it. Now I can use this to smash someone over the head with it, but we'd say that's not the purpose of it,
Yeah,
right? But you used it as a tool.
that's not
Look,
a prop, bro. Don't
By
do
the
that.
way, by the way, this is exactly where I would say left-leaning folks get wrong about guns, because they confuse what the purpose of a gun is and how people use that thing.
mhm.
it's a
And-
tool.
Yeah, anything could be used for evil. Anything.
yeah,
Okay.
Hammers kill more people.
Hammers, knives, forks, whatever it may be. But they have a primary purpose. Now, here's the way I would put it. I think God has created humanity for a purpose. The purpose of humanity is to be in continuous relationship with God, so relationally connected with Him. Human beings rebelled against that. I think all of us are aware of the Adam and Eve story, right? But the general understanding of that story is that human beings rebelled against God and said, we don't want to have you rule over us. We don't want your rule, your authority. We're going to establish our own rule by ourselves. This is essentially the sin of eating the fruit.
Is that pre or post religion?
What do you mean?
Because
That
when
is the religion.
Because-
Start.
okay, but religion itself, the reason why, again, in my opinion, that so many people are against it is because it's also done a lot of harm, right? As far as if you look at how many hundreds of millions, if not
Sure.
billions, of people have been killed in the name of religion.
Uh-huh.
So when you talk about God, are you talking about? To me, God is not religion,
Sure.
right? God is your faith in a higher power. To me, that's not religion. Whether it's, you call it Christianity, Buddhism, anything you want. To me, those are all man-made names, in my opinion. So if you believe in God, that's all that matters, right? You have faith, you follow, you can follow Scripture, but to me, that's not as important
Okay.
as having faith in a higher power.
Armand's asked like 5 questions in one like sentence. So let's break it down. Okay.
Sure.
Wiseness,
So-
bro.
That's why I said,
okay.
is
No,
that
he's
pre
right.
or post religion? Because it makes, I think it makes
That's
a difference.
That's your analysis of it.
Okay.
But the way this stuff has developed is that it's always been developed within a religious context. There was no pre or post. That's kind of your commentary on the subject.
So I mean, does
It's
that?
always been like that.
So I mean, does that basically is that you
When
kind
is
of
the beginning of always?
hold on? Is that you basically saying that the Adam and Eve story wasn't really two people and one of them ate an apple? It's just it was a different story and they just turned it into Adam and Eve.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, so here's what I mean. Generally speaking, the first 5 books of the Bible are credited to Moses.
Mhm.
Okay, so Moses writing these 5 books is already writing it within a religious context. So when he's asking me it's before religion or after religion, that's not a question that applies to
Yeah.
that subject because Moses is writing it as a revelation from God. Okay. And again, I want to go at the bare bones of the Adam and Eve story, is that humanity, by the way, Adam, the name Adam, means human. Okay. It's used both as a proper name and as a general reference to humanity.
See,
Okay.
this is why I'm saying, I'm like, the fact that Adam and Eve is not two people, is it society or is
I think the Bible presents them as two people, as
So
the parents
like-
and representatives of humanity.
as in like that's how?
Yeah, that's how that
Again,
God's
we'll get into
So
that as
that's
well.
fine. Yeah.
Let's unpack that a little bit as far as for my own understanding too. When you say there is no pre or post, okay. So how long has religion? What was the first religion ever? Was it Christianity or what was?
No,
what was
it can't be Christian.
The first religion ever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's like an established religion.
No, not established. Established is too proper. As far as something where people are following it as
That's what I mean. People have a set of beliefs and stuff like that. It's very difficult to comment on. Not
How
scholars
about
aren't.
paganism? Is
Yeah, so
is that
scholars
considered
aren't
religion?
always in agreement. For example, when you look at Egyptian kind of history, at different points, and scholars disagree on this. Some people think Egyptians were originally monotheistic and then it became polytheistic. Some people think they were always polytheistic and then societies moved towards monotheism more so. Monotheism being the belief in only one God.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult for me to comment on that because it seems to be the case that societies are always religious. There is no naturally atheistic society. We have not found it.
Well-
Everywhere we go, there's some kind of a religious makeup to the culture.
But when you say, but atheism doesn't mean, again, if you're not religious, doesn't mean you're an atheist.
No,
That's
not at
true.
all.
Right.
Yes, you're
So-
right.
So that's why my question, what I'm trying to understand, maybe this will help you, is when you that's why when I say I think God comes before any religion is because I'm sure prior to anybody accepting or coming up with the religion, religion is man-made,
Okay.
right? So people believed in God way before
Sure.
that.
Okay.
So that's why that's the question.
Okay.
I'm trying to-
Okay.
you
I think
see?
I got your question. Okay.
I mean, back in the days, they believed in what? Zeus and
Yeah. The Greeks had their gods where
the
there was the god of
yeah,
sun, god of
Athena
love,
and,
and then there was the god of gods, which was Zeus.
Yeah.
In essence, you would look at it as he was the Almighty.
Yeah. I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why. So I think I've understood your question. Okay, I'm going to use some words and then I'll define them because.
Sure. By the way, guys, like and share it because this is going to be it's going to get very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Like and share it, and subscribe if you haven't already. Shame on you if you haven't already.
Yeah, and hit the bell button.
So here's what I would say. Look, I'm going to use a couple of philosophical words and I'll break them down. Okay. So in philosophy, there's this understanding between what's called ontological stuff and then epistemological stuff. Okay. Epistemological stuff is stuff that you have access to knowledge-wise. Do you know about it? Okay.
Know about it through what?
It's knowledge, whatever.
Like books
It could be
and-
thinking about it. It could be your observation, like you see that thing is black or something like
Okay.
that. That's still. Ontological means, ontology is the study of being. So we're talking about the existence of certain things. Okay. So when you're talking about God comes before religion, I think you're talking about God existing as a being, like ontologically, and then religion being an explanation of God or an attempt at an explanation of God, more in the epistemological realm. So
Mhm.
one has to do with the knowledge of the subject, one has to do with the subject itself. Okay, and I think that's what you're talking about. And if I understand you right, I agree with you. God has pre-existed anything because God's always existed.
Right.
God has always been, right? Yeah, that's what we mean when we talk about God being eternal. Our formulation of God, our understanding of God, any Christian theologian will tell you it's our understanding of God has progressed within the scriptural context. So, for example, Paul in the New Testament, when he's writing, has a better understanding of who and what God is than Abraham when God calls him to go to the land of Canaan, for example. Like Abraham's understanding of God would have been very minimal. And it's like 3,000 years separating them, by the way. And Paul's understanding of God would have been more holistic because God has slowly revealed himself to humanity. God didn't just dump his entire knowledge about who he is as a person, as a being, just on humanity. It's not just like a data dump, right? Like it doesn't just happen like that. It's just slowly, slow. I mean, depends how we want to define slow, but It's a continuous revelation, self-revelation. Look, I would compare that to any relationship we have. Friends, marriage relationship is probably the best example. Look, when we get married, we don't know our wives perfectly. Our wives don't know us perfectly. It's
Some
a
people
slow
don't have
revelation.
wives; they have two husbands. It's different.
Well, that we'll put on the side because I wouldn't consider that an actual marriage, by the way.
Oh,
I think marriage has a very specific, well-defined definition
in
to it.
today's
Very
age,
sacred.
I
today's
didn't.
era?
I don't care what today's culture believes, man.
Well, we're gonna get into some
This
really
is getting dirty.
juicy stuff.
I try not to be offensive. If people take offense at that, then those are things I can't backtrack because, again, when we talk about following Jesus, I submit myself to the revelation that I see in the Bible. So if the Bible defines marriage, for example, as between a husband and a wife, and one at that, one man, one woman, I can't come to it and say, well, that's kind of really nice. I'm going to disagree with it. Following Jesus means I agree with it. I submit myself to his revelation about himself.
Do you see that being revised or updated with
No.
everything else that's being revised?
Well, yeah, I see certain religious communities, what I would say, they are theologically liberal.
Mhm.
And they're, by the way, theological liberalism has been around for about, give or take 100 to 150 years. Okay, it started in Germany, a number of philosophical and theological developments.
Makes sense that it started in Germany.
Now, it does. It absolutely does.
Why?
Germany had at the time, they had the best philosophers, best theologians, best scientists. And some of them started buying into certain philosophical viewpoints
Yeah.
that led them in that direction, right? For example, like words don't have meaning or something like that. And then they drew conclusions on that. Well, if words don't have meaning, then the Bible doesn't ultimately have meaning, and therefore we make up the meaning. And so when you talk about marriage, well, we can give marriage any kind of meaning we want to it. So theological liberalism usually gets coupled, by the way, with political liberalism. But I like to distinguish them when I talk about them.
Abiding is ani, right? Is it ani or anna?
Abiding in truth.
I forgot.
I forgot who was.
Well, anyways, he or
Very-
she. I
very
think
smart.
She, yeah. He said Hai in Aramaic means living.
yeah.
Ya means God. Stan, well, that's land.
Haya
Haya
stan.
stan.
Okay.
that-
Which basically is
Have you heard of it?
I don't know. Yahweh.
living God land.
Yahweh is the name of God that we're presented with in the Bible. Jehovah's Witnesses mistranslate that and put a J in there. The Hebrew language doesn't have a letter J, so that's why they're wrong about that.
Wait, so what does Jehovah's Witness and
Jehovah-
the Hebrew language have to do with each
Because
other?
they say God's name is Jehovah. They insist on that.
But in Armenian, we say Yehovah.
Yehovah. Yeah, or
Yeah,
Yahweh is probably the best pronunciation of it.
Yahweh.
Yehovah, depending on how you want
Arthur,
to.
can we go back to
Yeah.
all of this? Where
By the way, I don't know that. I'm very careful when it comes to words being broken up and given meaning.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because Yah is not God in Armenian. Yah is God, say in Hebrew. And I have no idea whether the Armenians were running around talking Hebrew or they're talking Armenian. Maybe Vahan can comment on that. And
Yeah, he's a historian.
a lot better than I do because he does the whole word stuff, But I'm just guessing there. So I'll
now
just
for
refrain
someone
from
like me that
commenting.
doesn't understand any of this, New Testament, Old Testament, can we
Yeah.
start with the difference between those two?
Sure.
It's like the Delta and then Delta Plus.
No,
comes
it's
out.
not. That's a bad comparison.
Wait,
Wow.
Wait till 2025 when the booster comes out.
Oh man.
I thought you were gonna say it's like Alec Baldwin with the AR.
Oh Lord.
Nobody's handing him an AR for a long time.
Look,
Let's see
The
I
Old
want to
Testament-
know
yeah,
about
so
the difference. Between
we got to
those
realize
two.
what we call the New Testament is pretty old. So it's 2,000 years old. And so some scholars like referring to it as the older Testament and the Old Testament. Because basically testament, the word testament, means covenant, which modern translation, I'm completely fine using the word contract. Okay, because it has the same similar components. Covenant, like a marriage covenant. It's a marriage
It's
contract.
a contract,
right?
basically.
So the major divisions in the Bible are between a older contract or older covenant God signs with his people and a new contract or covenant that God signs with his people.
So who follows the Old Testament? Who follows the New Testament?
Yeah, so historically speaking, Jews had the Old Testament, and that was what we would refer to as the Hebrew Bible, right? Jews still do.
The Old Testament.
Yes. So Christians follow the Old and the New Testament with modifications, is what I would say.
So in essence, it would be
Very,
the
very
coming.
confusing.
I'll explain
In
it.
essence, it would be the coming of Jesus doesn't exist in the Old Testament.
No, the coming of Jesus prophesied about in the Old Testament.
Yes, no, but it doesn't mention Jesus, does it? In the Old Testament.
By name? No.
No.
But a figure is presented that's
Correct,
going to come
correct.
and save the world.
Hence the reason why, when Jesus came and he said, I am the Messiah, the Jews killed him.
Exactly, because they said you're not, because that's not the Messiah they were expecting. They
So,
were
I mean-
expecting a religious military leader to fight against the Romans and rescue them from Roman oppression.
Is that why they killed him, basically?
Essentially, yeah, because remember what they said. He claims to be the king of the Jews. I mean, what is posted on his cross? King of the Jews. But now the Romans post that because that was the accusation, that he was claiming to be a king.
Oh, so basically the Romans, when they crucified him as, hey, listen, we killed your king, basically.
Yes, kind of
Not
mocking them, even though they're not
necessarily.
accepting
Well,
him
no,
as
no,
king.
no, of
It's a
course.
mockery.
No, obviously. That's what I mean.
Boy, I'm
Look.
so confused here.
But the Old Testament is basically what the Jews follow, and the New Testament brings in Jesus.
Yeah, I got that part, bro.
Okay.
But what I'm questioning here, you guys said Jesus is a Jew.
Sure, yeah.
All right. Killed by
Ethnically Jewish, yeah.
Okay, but he was killed by the Romans.
Yes.
No. Yeah, he was killed
So-
by the Romans on command of
The Jews.
So yes and no. Here's why. The Jews, the Jewish nation was under the control of the Roman Empire. One of the laws that the Roman Empire had was that the Jewish nation could not give capital punishment to anyone. They could punish people however they wanted, but they could not give capital punishment. They could not give them the death penalty. That was always the decision of the Roman
Was there fear
governor.
behind that?
No, it's just that's what nations who are dominating other nations do. They take their rights away.
Oh, we're seeing that happen.
Sometimes
today,
our
too.
own governments try to take our own rights away.
No. Let's go, Brandon.
So,
Who's Brandon?
so the confusion maybe is that when the Jewish authorities arrest Jesus, it's an illegal arrest and trial, by the way. They have an illegal trial at night when they're not supposed to. But nonetheless, they convict him, and then they want to put him to death, but they can't because they don't have the authority to put him to death. So they take him to the governor of
The Romans.
Jerusalem, essentially, who's Pontius Pilate, and they say, we want you to put this guy to death. And that's when you get Pontius Pilate saying, why? What has he done? On what accusations?
blasphemy.
But that doesn't count for the Romans because that's a religious accusation. He needs a civil accusation. And they say he claimed to be a king. So essentially they're saying, hey, he's claiming to be against Caesar. He's claiming to be a king.
Shit.
And so now he doesn't want to do it. Pontius Pilate, right? He washes his hands. He says, hey, listen, this is on you. It's not on me. I don't want to do this. But they're insisting on it. As a matter of fact, the two individuals that Jesus sees, which is Pontius Pilate, the governor of the Jerusalem district, and then the other guy he sees is the governor of Herod Antipas. He's the governor of where Jesus is from, his hometown.
Okay.
Both of them don't find him guilty. But the crowds are so insistent on him being put to death where they say, he doesn't want an uprising on his hands. It seems like Pontius Pilate doesn't want an uprising on his hand. And so he says, I'm just going to give you guys whatever you guys want. And he even presents it. He says, hey, do you want me to set Barabbas free, this guy who's an actual criminal, or Jesus? And the people say, we can take Barabbas, crucify Jesus. And he says, okay, it's your decision. You guys made that decision.
Oh shit!
And so that's what they crucified.
How many of you are glad you weren't alive back then?
I'm very happy I was alive back then.
Because damn, they would take me out real quick back then.
So again,
The
just
mouth like
Don't rush.
wait for it.
We're getting there. Don't push
so
your
right,
luck. We're
don't push
getting there, bro.
Wait for it. All by the way, all totalitarian governments have a very similar trend to those
Yeah.
guys, right? Like,
So, I mean, in essence, basically, God sets down Jesus as as a form of him, but he calls himself the Son of God. And he comes down to earth saying that basically he's the Messiah, but then he dies for our sins. So, I mean, what was what was the reason he came down? I mean, was it to come down to basically say, "Hey, I'm the Messiah, I'm the coming of God," or was it, "Hey, okay, Lev, you know, this didn't work. This didn't
ready at that
This
time?
didn't work out, so I guess I'll just die for
Yeah.
your sins."
No, I mean, Jesus very clearly tells, as a matter of fact, when Jesus is born, right? And then I'm going to throw in some comments there because people have misconceptions. Usually we're used to nativity scene where the three wise men are there, right? Or the three magi. The three magi are never, the Bible never says there's three of them. It just says three gifts.
It's not wise men.
Okay,
It's wise nuts. Bro.
it's wise nuts. Okay, so it's not.
Holy shit! There's three of us.
Oh my god! It just freaked me out right there.
So now
Now
they,
you get it.
Now I get it.
they
There was a prophecy. The fourth one had to
I don't know. Hey, that's not from me, everyone.
leave.
These guys are
Episode 40, last minute
Oh,
and a
no.
half. Go ahead, continue.
So look, these guys come from the east and they present Jesus with gifts, and some of the gifts have to do with his death. The gift they present, myrrh, frankincense, and gold. Apart from the gold, the other two are meant to be used in funeral preparations of the body. Now, capture this: your baby's, let's say, give or take 2 years old when these guys arrive. Okay. And to the parents, they're presenting gifts which are meant for funerals, preparations for funerals. These guys are saying that there's a purpose to his life. Okay. And talking about purpose, Jesus very clearly talks about the purpose of his life being his sacrifice. When he comes on the scene and John the Baptist is baptizing people, John looks at Jesus and says, "Behold the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world." Right?
The matach, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, now going back to what the
Oh.
distinction
But hold on.
between the Old Testament and New Testament is, let me finish my thought here. Is that, so why are there no longer, in the Old Testament, there's a lot of sacrifices, animal sacrifices. Okay? Now I'm going to say something that maybe a lot of Armenians that are part of the Armenian Apostolic Church are going to not like, but that's okay. We can talk about it. In the New Testament, the animal sacrifice system is completely obliterated. It's, as a matter of fact, it's considered unnecessary. Why? Well, because Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice. You don't need that stuff anymore. Because if in the Old Testament they're sacrificing animals for ritual cleansings, for example, they've sinned or they've done something wrong and they offer these to God as a ritual cleansing. Jesus is the ultimate cleansing.
So in essence,
Right.
you're actually sinning when you're basically doing a matach.
I would agree
Yes.
with you. Yeah.
But hold
You
on.
want my opinion on that? Yes.
But wait. But here's what kind of throws me off as well. John was baptizing people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do Jews baptize?
No, but at the
So
time.
what was he baptizing? Who was he baptizing? What was the purpose behind the baptism?
Yeah, so it's very clear that it's a baptism meant for repentance, and repentance is a very, again, one of these religious words that we use, but it's not in its original language. It just means to turn around. Okay, like you're walking in a direction and somebody says repent, that means turn around and walk this way.
Doesn't mean
Okay,
you
the Greek word
change
is-
your mind.
It does mean you change your mind.
Als we schalen zet hem zacht.
Yeah. So it's the Greek word is metanoia. It means to change your direction, change your mind, essentially admit whatever you're going, whatever you're doing is wrong, and walk the opposite direction. So John was telling people, you guys are living wrong. You guys need to repent and do what God wants you to do. Okay? And a sign of repentance was him baptizing, which continues into our Christian heritage. Jesus gets baptized. And then Jesus' disciples themselves start baptizing people. And Jesus tells his disciples, go into the world. This is at the end of the story, after the resurrection. He says, go into the world, into all nations, all ethnic groups, as a matter of fact, teaching them all that I have commanded you and baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So baptism becomes what we call a sacrament, right? So it's one of the two, we could say, that we have, baptism and communion.
So, but that was Jesus basically saying. But what was the purpose of John doing it?
John's was it was a
So-
sign. It was essentially a washing. Like someone would come and say, "Yeah, I want John to baptize me. I'm repenting.
Yeah, but
I've been living my life wrong."
It kind of goes back to what Armand was saying as far as, what God, what religion, where did it all begin? John wasn't a Christian. There was no Christianity.
No, But you got to realize that in Christian theology, Christianity is not something that just pops out of nowhere. Like,
It takes time.
there's a no. What I'm saying is, it has a heritage. The Old Testament is the heritage of Christianity. Right. There's a reason people have a statement like the Judeo-Christian worldview.
Yeah,
There's a
can we
reason
talk
these two
about
things
that?
are connected together. Because Jesus is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. Now, going back to his question about Old Testament and New Testament, the Christian says all the stuff in the Old Testament that was given was leading up to the Messiah, the Savior of the world. And Jesus has fulfilled all of this stuff. Okay?
It's time to close and put it away.
Not necessarily put it away. We still use it because there's a great deal of revelation about God that you know. God says stuff about himself. Now, there's things in the Old Testament that we no longer follow. The reason, like dietary laws, eating pork, for example. We don't follow these dietary laws because they were meant to be dietary laws in the Old Testament for various reasons. Some of them we know, some of them we don't, frankly. Okay? But they're religious dietary laws, where the New Testament doesn't have the religious dietary laws. Okay? And so some we follow, some we don't. Some of them are moral laws that carry over because they're just, morality is just generally universal. Like don't rape, don't murder, don't steal, don't lie, all those things, right?
Man.
So those things carry over.
Right now, nowadays, we're just completely against the New Testament, Old Testament. Everything's upside down today, bro.
Yeah, and I think, there's a passage in the Bible that essentially speaks about woe to a people who call good evil and evil good.
It's crazy.
And
But
I
see-
think there's some truth to that in our culture.
I mean, going back further into the Bible, obviously there's multiple stories behind the religious aspects of Christianity or Judaism or whatever it is, but some of the stories, like you read them, and this is why I was asking you about the Adam and Eve.
Mhm.
Was it something that took place and they took the Adam and Eve story and created that? I mean, again, we're in 2021. To call myself a religious person, I'd be lying. Do I go to church every now and then? Yeah, I do. I'll go to church. I'll light a candle. I'll sit there. I'll kind of soak in the energy. And, that's what I like to call it. It's kind of like a positive energy. I like to soak in. But as far as like some of the stories behind it, Adam and Eve, Noah, you read stuff like that and you're like, they're telling me there was a guy that God spoke to and he said, I'm going to kill everybody in the world except for you and your family. And 2 of each animal, male, female.
Each and every animal.
Each and every animal. So I need you to build a ship, and I'm going to send those animals to you, and I'm going to flood the world for 40 days and 40 nights, and then you'll repopulate the world.
Bam.
When you hear that story to a person who's not religious, they'll be like, oh, okay, it's again, forgive me, but I mean, it sounds like a fairy tale.
Fiction.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a story-like element to it, right? And I would say it is a story, but not also just because it's a story doesn't mean it's false.
But
But it also doesn't mean it's
true.
Sure, yeah. Now, I'm not saying it's not true.
Like, how long ago did that take place?
Typically, folks date the Noah story at like 4,400 BC, I think.
4,400 BC.
Yeah.
So
6,000.
6,000 years ago. We've found dinosaur bones.
Sure.
We've found artifacts leading back to God knows when. Where's Noah's Ark?
right where it's supposed to be parked. What do you mean?
I mean, is there any evidence behind it?
Look, people have claimed all sorts of evidence for Noah's Ark.
Again, I'm not trying to be
No.
cynical here.
I like this stuff. No, I really enjoy this because I want to answer these questions, number one, to the best of my abilities. That doesn't mean they're always right. Number two, and I want to give the most information that I can. Because not all Christians, for example, are in agreement of a global flood or a local flood. Like, Christian theologians disagree on this subject. Some people, some legitimately Christian thinkers, theologians, think that the flood is a local flood. It's a localized flood to that region. It's not on a global scale. Okay. Now,
But in that region,
like some-
what's gonna flood that region?
I mean, there's local floods all the time.
I get
Yeah.
it, but
You-
that specific region, what body of water is going to flood it?
I don't know. I mean, it's very difficult. I can't comment on that because, again, that's kind of beyond my
Just like
my
you
pay
know,
grade.
you
But
understand.
I'm
like,
telling
that
you,
specific area.
I want you
is-
to know that you're not like when you think about these things, it's not necessarily that you're recognizing something and bam, like you can't be a Christian or something like that.
No. It's
Right.
not that. It's for
Yeah.
me. It's kind of wrapping my head around something like that, where,
Sure.
like I said, if I were to tell somebody who's not religious or a child that story, it would be like, okay, you know, it's a story. It's a fairy tale. I mean, how could something like that flood to the point where, you know, where is Mount Ararat? Well, Mount Ararat is.
Connor made a comment on that.
What did he say?
He said Noah didn't have a boat and he didn't float here from Africa, Middle East. He was Armenian, heard God, built a stable to sustain water. He was grounded in Ararat before the rain started.
Yeah. I mean, again, my comment on that stuff is always like based on what?
Yeah.
See,
I mean, that's quite a bit. That's a lot of details in a story.
Yeah.
He's Armenian. He built this. He did that. Like right. Like
well,
like
not only
8
that,
components.
Art,
Like based on what?
listen to this. So he said he was grounded at Ararat.
Yes. Before the rain started.
Okay, people have died climbing Mount Ararat. Literally.
Bro, people died getting coronavirus too. It's not a
Okay,
big deal.
yeah.
Look, it's
you're
not.
going off topic.
By the way, it's
bro.
not always.
Jesus
it's
Christ.
not-
But like people have tried to, and it's not like a preparation where it's like, you know what? I think I'm in shape. I think I'm gonna go climb Mount Ararat today. There's a process behind it. You're telling me that he camped out on top of Mount Ararat, it flooded, and then he came down.
Look, that's assuming that the ark ends up landing on the peak of Mount Ararat, like most of our paintings have. You know, the ark up there. The Bible never says it's on the peak of Mount Ararat. It says that it came to rest.
Vicinity of.
It says it came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. There's a number of folks that have taken satellite pictures, and they think they have. There's essentially like a hill that is shaped in the form of a big ark. They think that's where the ark landed. Again, these are based on satellite pictures. Location is always. Now, my thing is, where's the ark? I would assume when people would get off the ark, you know, that's pretty good wood that you want to reuse. And you might want, like,
Build a
Noah
house.
gets off. Noah gets off the ark. I mean, what would you do? Would you go and cut down fresh trees and try to fix yourself a house out of it, or would you use tar, existing
Well, depends. I
lumber
mean,
with
depends
tar
on-
on it?
Well, it depends on what's left after the flood.
It depends, but it seems like it's intact, right? Like,
And whether the insurance covers it. Or
I was gonna say whether they have lumber prices from today or there
It's like,
was
honey,
cheaper
I'm
prices.
calling Jared from State Farm. It's a dead tone. I don't know what's going on.
yeah, if Noah saw the lumber prices from today, he definitely
Seriously,
reused the ark.
Can you imagine he walked in?
You
and
know,
it's
I think that's just reasonable and rational to think about. Now, one of the things about the Noah story is that the bare bones of it, there's a righteous man who's rescued from a global flood, so on and so forth, is widely circulated throughout world history. It's not just the Bible. Hawaiians have a flood story. The Chinese have a flood story. Like cultures disconnected from one another
So
have a flood story.
This
it
goes
could
back.
be local.
Yeah, but no.
Well, it could
See,
be global or local. For me, that's not an issue. Some Christians make it an issue. I think it's global, by the way. But
this goes back to what I was saying as far as it being something else that took place and the story was kind of changed.
why can't it just be the most accurate retelling of the story?
I mean, if you look at Noah's Ark as an accurate retelling of a story, it again, forgive me, but it sounds silly.
It's an even why?
but well,
Because you're telling me the world floods, everybody dies, and Noah and his family repopulates the world. I mean, you're talking about incest here.
Yes, yeah. You can't run away from the whole incest conversation from any worldview. By the way, even if you talk about evolutionary biology and stuff like that, there's serious questions that come to the picture of what kind of animals can actually produce together, even if they're evolving from one another. For example, a tiger and a lion can produce a liger, but it's
Yes.
sterile.
Yes,
It can't produce its own offspring. So
gain of function.
if-
Just like a mule, donkey, and a horse creates
yeah,
a
so
mule,
what I'm
but it
saying
can't.
is, when people talk about the whole evolution, say Neanderthals and stuff, and they're talking about were Homo sapiens able to reproduce with Neanderthals?
No, they
You know,
weren't.
Some people think they were. Right.
No,
Again,
no,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
If the whole of the same kind, because it's a small group, is an issue that comes up for everybody.
Okay, so I mean,
And again, let me ask you this question: why is incest wrong in the first place?
Is that why they say King Fauci?
why is incest wrong in the first
Yeah.
place?
Like,
Just-
where do you get that idea from?
I mean, just going on a scientific standpoint, I mean, two siblings, God forbid, if they were to create an offspring, scientifically and biologically,
Mhm.
that child is going to have issues.
Sure, but that doesn't tell us if it's wrong. You just told us what's happened.
Well, it's wrong to bring in a child into this world like that.
issues?
as
I
far
mean,
as
not every time it has issues, Arno.
no, I mean, look, I mean, I'm not again. I'm not a.
Let's-
I'm not. I'm not a.
I'm gonna
I'm not
give
a.
you- I'm
I'm
gonna
not a
give you the benefit of
scientist.
the
I'm not a
doubt.
doctor. But I mean, somebody look
You're
it
right.
up. Somebody
You're
look
right.
it up. I
You're
mean,
right. There will be genetic issues. What I'm saying is, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with producing offspring that are going to have genetic issues? That's a moral evaluation of a situation.
Mhm.
Okay, you're telling me what has happened, and then you're kind of sliding in there your moral judgment of the story. Alec Baldwin shot someone.
No, he did
Right?
not.
Now, we can sneak in moral judgments of him in that comment. Alec Baldwin is an
Horribly-
evil man, and he shot someone.
can't
Yeah,
believe
right?
that-
I'm,
Like-
I'm naming my son Alec, bro.
You might
It's a great name.
think twice about
I know.
The way I say it is, you redeem it, bro. You redeem it from.
Just name him Baldwin
So
instead.
this is what I'm talking about. Is that there's something called the naturalistic fallacy, which is that you can't get an ought from an is. An ought is a moral obligation that people have to live by. You can get, for example, black widows when they mate, right, end up feeding their mates to their children. Now, I can't look at black widows operating like this and then say, therefore,
Jesus.
human mothers should do this or shouldn't do this.
Yeah, but how does that
Yes.
relate to if you know there's a 50% chance that if you had a baby
An
with your
offspring,
sibling,
yeah.
an
Mhm.
offspring, that there's a 50% chance or a 30% chance that they're gonna have genetic
Deformities.
deformities.
Yeah.
I don't think black widows or lions or any animal would do that
So let's play
Unless-
with the data.
unless they intentionally did that to feed that genetically deformed offspring to the other offspring.
Sure.
That's how I think nature would act. So how would that make sense?
It's very interesting that you say numbers that are high, like 50-50 or 30-70 or something like that. Let's play with the numbers a bit.
Okay.
Let's make it 90-10.
90-10 as
Yeah.
far as what?
Would you say your
90% chance of being
no, 90% chance of being completely fine and 10% chance of being.
But no, you can't look at it that
why
way. I mean, we have to.
We don't know the answer, Arno. Do you know the answer?
I don't know
No.
the answer. If anybody, I can't go on my phone because it's obviously
No. I don't care about that. I'm
It's
the
a
point I'm making, the hypothetical
yeah.
point I'm making, is that
Still would.
just-
I wouldn't. I
just
still wouldn't do it.
okay? Yeah, but you
He's
do
talking
take
about the moral aspect.
you do take
of it.
that risk all the time. You have no guarantee, and I have no guarantee. I have 3 children. I didn't have any guarantee that my kids weren't going to come out with any number of really strange and weird deformities.
Yes, nobody knows.
Okay,
No.
none of us know, but we
No.
still have children.
Yeah.
As a matter of now, I would say there's a moral obligation on the individual, but I have a place where I establish my morality, where I have a moral obligation. Say, if I know my child has an 80% chance of dying at infancy, I wouldn't necessarily want to have kids. Say I would adopt, right?
Yeah, I know, but I
Um,
mean, this is
But that's a gray ethical issue.
It
What I'm
is,
saying
it
is,
is,
you're,
it
you're
is.
saying it's incest.
correct.
I want to go back to the point. You're saying it's incest. I'm saying, where do you get your understanding that incest is wrong?
What is it okay in the Bible?
No, I'm saying, I'm asking you.
It's
I have a
it's a
bibli-
moral thing.
Look,
bro.
I have a biblical answer for it. I
Okay,
want to
okay,
know
don't-
you,
okay, for-
Arno. Where do you get that morality
I
kind
look,
of basis from?
I look at it as, I mean, we are two people that came from the same parents,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not brought to this world to basically produce
Mate.
together.
But that, where do you get that law from? Like, where does that rule come
I
from?
mean,
Why
it's
not?
something that's been passed down from
So
my family, my parents, my parents' parents, my parents' parents'
Uh-huh.
parents, where we've looked at it and we've said, you know, this is your brother, this is your sister, this is your, we're your parents, and we want you to marry off and
Sure.
create, and when you get married with somebody, two
Mhm.
families become
Yeah.
one.
That's biblical.
Yeah, that's that's basically how I've been brought up.
See, here's exactly the point I was making, is that all your moral foundations, at least the ones you're talking about right now, are biblically grounded. You just don't know about it.
No, I know, I understand that.
So
but
if
my
our-
argument is basically the story behind, again, not only Noah, but the story behind Adam and Eve as
Sure.
well.
Yes.
Adam and Eve are two people that were basically created by God. Well, Adam was created, and then a piece of his rib was
both
taken.
of them are created by God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Adam was created first, and then a piece of his rib was taken, and
Yeah.
again, this is when you hear the story,
Just
it's like
say the story.
a piece of his rib was taken, and
Sure.
Eve was created,
Mhm.
and God said, you two will basically repopulate the world.
Populate, yeah.
Or populate the world. I'm going to know a story, but populate the world. You could do whatever you want except for this tree right here. Don't fucking touch this tree.
Oh, yeah.
Don't
Don't
eat
touch
from this tree. Don't touch this tree. And then a snake comes along and says, "Hey, listen, this tree's just apples. Are just
Yeah.
amazing."
So, okay. I think you're not doing
Sweetest
justice.
apples.
So let me ask a question. If Autumn had a sister, went
Yeah.
to church or to an ordained minister and said,
I want to marry my
we're
sister.
getting married.
Yeah.
What would the response be?
No.
Why?
Because biblically there is regulations against incest, and they're giving and the regulations against it, the law given against it, is given in the law of Moses. Okay, as a matter of fact, say we've probably all heard like, oh, they were 7 generations apart.
Right.
Where did we get the 7 generation stuff? It's in the Bible. That's where we get it from. It's a biblical regulation that's given that people can't do this. Now, what I'm saying is, I went after him, and that's all in good fun. The reason being is because we have biblically grounded laws and stuff we believe. Like our parents have told us stuff, we live in certain ways, and we don't know where this stuff came from. Predominantly,
But yeah, we
it's based
follow
in the
it
Bible. We
year
follow it,
after
yeah,
year.
and I think it's good to follow it. Now, I think his question is completely legitimate. Well, if God's given a law to it in the law of Moses, what about before it? And my response simply would be, if there is no law against something, you're not doing something wrong. Okay? And it's a necessity of human development.
Define
all-
law. What do you mean
Yeah.
by law?
That it's wrong to do that.
So basically, before it was a law, it was
But if
okay to
there's
do
only
that.
two people
because there's
alive,
no law
who's
against
There's no
writing
law.
the
Okay, so
Some people, by the way,
looking
sorry, but some people also say because humanity is so fresh and stuff like that, in regards to its creation, the genetic deformities have not kicked in.
No. I mean, again, let's throw science
But
out
then
there.
you're
Let's-
saying law, but what law when
Yeah,
there's no
let's-
other people there but these two people?
No. Forget
What
that.
law?
Forget that. But as far as forget the genetic deformities and science behind it, you're saying, okay, back then there was no law behind it, so it wasn't a sin or it wasn't something bad. But now, if you do it, it's bad.
And
But-
back then, they were the only two people.
Yeah, and back then they were the only
left.
two people. But as far as looking at it as far as hey God, back then what you guys did was bad. Don't do it again. But those people weren't sinners. Those people were
So-
your great grandparents.
If you were given that responsibility,
Which one?
Which one?
where it's
Too
just
popular.
Adam and Eve or thing?
if it's just you and your sister, on,
Adam and Steve.
Oh, it can't be. Hold on. Are Adam and Eve brother and sister?
No.
No, Adam and Eve are not brothers.
Ah, see?
The conversation's about their children.
okay,
bro.
so
So it's Adam and Eve do it. That's fine. But their kids start doing it. It's like,
okay,
whoa,
let's
whoa,
say
whoa,
you were
whoa.
their kids and you were given that responsibility to populate. Would you consider that, or would it still be morally wrong?
Would he know any better?
Hold on. Did
Can
he
you
know
ask
any
that?
better? That's the thing.
Because there's nothing to compare it to.
Would he
Look,
have
here's what I would say
another
also.
option?
It's not necessarily brothers and sisters. It after the first generation, it becomes essentially cousins and then cousins of cousins, depending on where the children are and who they belong to and stuff like that. So the first generation is really where the struggle is.
But even if it happens today, let's
It
say,
does happen
It
today.
does.
no,
In
no, no.
Louisiana, I'm sure.
No,
you
no,
No,
know.
man, it does happen. Like I know, I know Armenians. I've met
Really?
Armenians that married their like Morkur's daughter.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like they
there
hadn't
are
seen
some.
them
In
ever
this era.
in this era.
Yeah.
Really?
They had not.
Fucking
They,
no
they
way.
had not
without
seen.
knowing.
Yeah,
Oh.
no. Listen.
No.
Oh,
Knowingly?
knowingly?
Look,
What
they
the
had
hell,
never
bro?
met this person.
Well, I can't find anything.
They grew apart from each other and stuff. And then when they were adults, they had a family gathering and they saw each other and they wanted to get married. Now, I have no idea how the church actually married these people because it's against church policy.
Not if
Well,
you pay the $800.
well,
Not if you're paying.
We're going. We're not
I'm
going
not
into
gonna go there. No,
monetary.
no, no, I'm not gonna go there.
You've been married a long time. $800.
I'm not gonna go
bro.
there.
Have you tried the new Burbank Church? What is it like?
Uh,
Right in front of the university.
Trip-
It's like
triple it.
$1,400 or something.
John had a comment earlier that was interesting, and this comment is going to lead us to a caller that we have, Chris, who wants to call in.
Mhm.
Where's John's comment?
Hago wanted to call in as well, by the way.
John said, God is a creature of man.
I
Man
love the
created
interaction
God
today.
in his
Yeah.
image, not vice versa.
Yeah,
What do you think of that?
I think it's nonsense.
Can you read
The-
that?
to,
again,
to,
please?
to, with all due respect to John,
Yeah.
now I would say that people, I would agree with him in this, that people make up gods in their images all the time.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I would say you and I create gods in our images all the time. Some of it is in the shape of power, some of it's in the shape of money, some of it's in the shape of whatever it is. Now, to say that God is in our image, I think doesn't make any sense. Philosophically doesn't make any sense. Okay? Because, for example, if I were going to come up with a God in my image, I'd want that God to follow my whims. Okay? To be sly like me, to cheat here, to justify doing this here, not to be as judgmental, this sort of stuff. But the understanding of God that we have as Christians is an all-powerful, non-physical being who's the creator, sustainer, and judge of everything that exists.
So he's not an
Okay.
actual person.
Well, no, person philosophically is used in the sense that you have decision-making abilities. We can distinguish between human persons and non-human persons.
But I mean, as far as a physical form, because I look at when you
No.
think of God, you think of Michelangelo's
Oh, you think about
painting.
it, grandpa in the sky
Yeah,
with the beard? that's-
bearded man, big, muscular, gold bracelet, like.
I have no idea who that is. That's not God. That's not the picture that we're presented of God.
But see, like
In the Bible. Sure.
as far as when you say like when I say God, I look at it as light. I look at it as just like this power, this energy. That's all I look at it as.
Yeah, the Bible presents God as light. I don't think that's an incorrect
Like
perception.
as far as like lights, like sun rays out of the clouds. That's what I look at God as, and a voice.
Look,
Obviously, you'll hear it, whatever it is. Again, I'm not the most religious person.
I would say, look, I qualified a couple of things. I said God is a non-physical, all-powerful, personal agent. Okay, and now I can add more stuff to it, like he is the creator and sustainer of everything. He's
Everything you said?
morally good. Everything, yeah. Everything that
Everything.
exists. Yeah.
Like,
Everything.
you said everything, bro.
Yeah.
So basically, you don't. As far as going back scientifically, I mean, we've looked for an astrologist. Anybody who knows an astrologist, please.
Not an astrologist. No, an astrologist is a person who's like a fortune teller.
No, I'm sorry.
Astronomer,
Astronomist.
yeah.
Gonna,
So
sorry.
don't get an astrologist.
Yeah, not an astrologist.
You mean
Astronomer.
plumber.
Astronomist.
Oh,
Astronomist.
astronomer.
Sorry. Thanks for correcting me. Astronomist.
No, it's just that you're gonna get a weird reaction.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, we got someone here, and
Somebody,
they're like,
somebody.
"What's
yeah.
your sign?"
Yeah. We don't want to know. We don't want to know our signs, bro. We're not.
I'm a Gemini.
Astronomist.
You're gonna have a good day
But
today.
yeah. But
Tomorrow's gonna be.
It's gonna be a
positive.
great show tonight.
But going back as far as
I love the rea-
astronomist, right? Astronomist. There we go. Astronomist. The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. Look, the
The Big Bang Theory doesn't exist.
No, I believe in the Big Bang Theory. The Big
So
Bang Theory was
was-
developed by a Catholic priest.
So was it God
people
that
don't talk
created
about
the
this.
Big Bang Theory?
So let me ask you a question. This is very simple kind of rationality and logic. We're sitting here, okay? As
Yes.
far as we know, there's nobody else in this building or in this room where we are.
We could say
Now
that.
imagine we just hear like this gigantic bang over there. What's our immediate response gonna be?
Try to
Nothing
go
did
check
it.
out.
Nothing did it, or are we gonna say, hey, something must have done it? Now, it could have been the wind. It could have been whatever. We left a window or a door open. No, but it could be a person. If we hear glass shattering, someone's trying to break in.
I think it's Brandon.
So it might be.
It could be
We're live,
Brandon.
and Brandon might want to arrest us on live stuff.
Screw Brandon.
But here's what I would say is that the basic logic to the Big Bang Theory is that if there was a Big Bang, meaning there is a beginning of everything, there's a beginning of the universe. That's what the Big Bang Theory teaches. It's the sum total, it's the moment where everything comes into existence, time, space, and matter. The logical question to think about is what caused it to come into existence? Now, philosophers and theologians have developed what's called the cosmological argument on this. I also want to say that I shouldn't say all, a good amount of scientists, when they came across the Big Bang model, rejected it because they said this is going to take us to the God question. This is going to become a theological conversation. We don't want it to become a theological conversation because everyone's naturally going to ask what caused the Big Bang, because whatever caused the Big Bang would have to be outside of the Big Bang, distinct from the Big Bang, more powerful than the Big Bang, and added on top of that would have to have personal abilities, meaning decision-making skills, to do a Big Bang or not to do a Big Bang, right? To break the window or not to break the window, which leads us to a question of what caused it. Because when we talk about the Big Bang, we're talking about the sum total of everything that exists. Okay, now I'll give you a very basic argument. It's called the Kalam Cosmological Argument, and it goes like this. It's 2 steps and then a conclusion. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, i.e. Big Bang. Conclusion, the universe has a cause. Okay, and then we can deduce from that as to what kind of a cause the cause of the universe would be. And I gave a very general definition of that. Even if I don't want to say all-powerful, I would say supremely powerful, supremely knowledgeable.
So it wasn't done by pressure. It wasn't done by something where everything was just so dense inside this space where it just kind of.
Well, you're talking about the mechanism of like how it happened. So you're asking what happened instead of why it happened. We're asking 2 different questions.
Well, no, forget the why it happened. I mean,
we can't.
We can't forget why it happened.
No. Hold on.
Pretty important. Then.
No, whatever happened as far as the Big Bang, the explosion that basically created the galaxies and the stars and the planets and the suns and whatever it was. Why it happened is because like they said, scientists say it was because of pressure that was built up in a space that continued to build up and build up and build up until today. They say the galaxy continues to grow. It's continuously growing.
The universe is growing. Yeah, there's no question about that. And it's going to collapse on itself. Okay, but the fact that it's growing, by the way, the whole growth of the universe is proof and evidence that it started at a certain point and it's expanding from that point.
Like, you've been camping.
Yeah.
You've looked up into the sky when there's no light pollution, right?
I love it.
It's beautiful, right? You have trillions, if not gazillions of stars, galaxies all
planets.
Over the place. Each one of those stars represents a sun, a star.
Yeah, sure.
With a solar system possibly around it. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that there's other life forms around those?
I'm agnostic on that subject. Like, it's very... Now, I got to qualify that. Do I believe there are planets that have life, like plants and animals or something like that? Yeah, I'm more open to that. Do I believe there's intelligent life, kind of like human beings and stuff like that? I don't know.
Well, let's not use intelligent life, so...
Yeah, you can't just spare it out there, bro. You seen
Look what's happening.
Nowadays.
Look what's happening to the fucking world, man.
You can't just really throw it out.
Listen,
there.
let me put it.
That took me a couple of seconds to get.
Arthur,
where you been the last couple
Arthur,
of
let
years?
me put it to you this way:
Well,
if aliens,
Sorry, I came back from Armenia a year ago. Okay, so when you say where you been the last couple of years, I've been back in the
Ooh,
States.
I want to talk to you about that too.
I've
man.
been back in the States for a year. I actually moved my family to Armenia for a year.
You
and a
talked
half
enough
before that.
Armenian last week.
I know, seriously.
And,
I didn't talk to
And
him.
So
we
that's
watched
where
Arthur
I've
give
been.
himself
Yeah.
fellatio for 4.5 hours.
mind you, if aliens came down to the fact that you're saying he was saying intelligence, aliens came to this planet, they saw what the fuck was going on, they'd be like, blow it up, blow it up right now.
If the wise that are a part of this humanity blow this shit up.
But
Sorry, Edgar wrote, damn man, now I know why I barely got a C in my philosophy class. After 20 years, I still have nightmares about my class. Hey, I'm sorry for your experience. I'm very sorry.
But
Harry makes a good comment too. To have a clock, there must be a clockmaker.
Yeah, so that's the argument. That is called the teleological argument. It's a design argument.
who was saying that?
Harry said that.
Harry? Which Harry?
Harry, DJ.
Well, doesn't he have a show that he needs to attend to today? It's 9 o'clock, Harry. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, Harry's been with us the whole time, bro. He joined us like
Oh, did he?
45 minutes ago.
Look, the clock argument actually was one of the first design arguments that was developed. And here's the reason why. A clock or a watch, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a watch argument. Because components in a watch are what we would call co-essential. They all need to be there for the watch to function. If you take one gear out, the watch stops functioning. Okay, so all need to be present. So if the argument is this: if you're walking down the beach and then you come across a watch, your natural response is going to be there's a designer to this thing, because every single one of them need to be there. It doesn't kind of naturally evolve. And so that became the basis of what's called the design argument, in that when we study the universe, when we study the galaxies, the laws of physics, when we study kind of what's happening around an atom and a cell and stuff like that, the human DNA, as a matter of fact, like super complex intelligence, everything's doing whatever they need to be doing. This gives reason to believe that there's a designer that made this entire thing to function the
How
way
about
it is.
human birth in itself? Can't you look at that as like the biggest miracle?
There-
And how do you explain
Yeah,
that?
there's a guy who says it's a TED talk. These guys studied human development from fertilization to birth, and then they're doing
Insane.
another study past that, like 3-4 years, to see how like development looks. And this guy's not. He says I'm not religious. In the video, you can look it up on YouTube, and multiple times he makes a reference. He says, "This is God. This is divinity." Like it's just
insane.
stuff happening beyond the mathematics. And he's a coder. He's a mathematician. He says the mathematical probabilities happening in this are insane.
It is. It's
And so it has to have a design to it. So that's the watchmaker
like
stuff.
we don't even
is-
on a daily basis we don't think
is a
about
design.
that.
About the
fact.
what?
See,
I mean, not only the watch,
Look,
the
there-
human evolution of the human
but
There
body.
was-
you're saying evolution.
Conception
Arthur-
itself is amazing, bro.
I know, I understand that. But see, Arthur was mentioning
you didn't understand.
Arthur was mentioning something about revising and changing as far as like the New Testament, the Old Testament. Things were changed, right?
what do you mean change?
As far as
Information wasn't
information,
left out or changed.
yeah, not changed, added on from the Old Testament to the New Testament.
There's a progressive revelation about
Yeah.
God we get.
So would there not be things we can add on today, as far as galaxies being discovered, planets being discovered, possible life forms being discovered, as something where you can kind of, I don't know.
Look, the theology is always going to be, and maybe this goes back to what Armand was saying about religion being man-made or something like that. I would agree to it to a certain extent. I would say theology is a response. It's our effort of figuring out the world using what we know about God. Okay, for example, if we found life on Mars, say the life was intelligent life, more intelligent than the ones on Earth, let's just say, okay? Or the ones in this country.
Probably would be.
Or let's just say, right?
the
The ones
ocean.
on the left, yes.
Look, tomorrow morning we wake up and then there's a giant UFO over Los Angeles, and then these creatures are saying we're Martians. Here's what's going on. Now I know certain things about God theologically. I'm gonna have to use my theology to reflect upon this new reality of whatever it might be, right? And we've had this happen all throughout world history, where we found new things. We discovered new stuff about existence and life, and then that's when we do theology. Theology, by the way, means the study of God. It's two words, theos and logos, means the study of God. And so we're going to reflect on that subject. We're going to say, what does that look like? How do we figure that out? Can we figure it out? Is it possible to figure it out? This is when you have folks writing books and dealing on the subject.
So ultimately, doesn't it mean it's every theologist or whoever authors or
Adams and
no
Johns and-
interpretation?
Look,
Right?
there's no way any of us can run away from any interpretation. Scientists interpret data. Okay, that's why scientists disagree. A lot of people don't talk about this. Not everyone in the scientific world, for example, believes in biological Darwinian evolution the way a lot of people believe. Recently, there was a guy, I think he's from MIT. He's like one of the best programmers in the world, came out against Darwinian evolution. And he says, the reason why I'm against it is because the data doesn't make sense. The coding of it, the mathematics of it doesn't make sense. There needs to be something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, he's not saying I became a Christian, I'm religious, I'm following Jesus. He doesn't say any of that stuff. He hasn't. But he's saying just the evidence suggests this is not, our model is not right. Okay. So is he stupid? No, he's not stupid. He's a brilliant man. So interpretations are always the case for everything. Recently, my wife was involved in an accident. Okay, there's an event. Dude, thank you.
You knew that was coming. Right?
We have 18 PI attorneys tuning in.
So,
John, calm down, John. John, calm down.
John, we have.
Let us finish the show. Jesus, go ahead, Arthur.
My phone's gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
So we have an event. The event is the accident.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have interpretations of the event. Okay. That doesn't mean now if somebody came up and said my interpretation of the event is that it didn't happen, we're gonna say, okay, you go really far to the left. And I say that intentionally. Very far to the left. Okay. Now, and then we're going to try to puzzle together the event. How did he interpret it? Oh, this guy
The
saw it at this
situation,
angle, this guy
basically,
saw it
yeah.
at this- and try to come up with a holistic picture of what happened.
Right.
So yeah, it does involve interpretation, but it's not interpretation in thin air, people just randomly speculating. People need to have evidence for whatever it is that they are speculating upon. And if you're going to say, well, I think God is, X, Y, and Z, you better have some evidence as to why you think God is that.
Then why do we have so many different religions and then so many cultures that don't believe in God? They have their own God they believe in.
Sure.
So how, if it's not about everybody interpreting it their own way to, let's say, to fit their narrative, their agenda, their whatever philosophy.
Yeah. Well, I think it is. I don't disagree with you. I think it is that. But I don't think everyone is equally right, because that goes against what's called the law of non-contradiction. Everybody can't be right. Everybody can be wrong. Right? Every single person could be wrong on a subject, and there could be a truth beyond that.
So,
Okay.
and how do we know the truth then?
Then we search it. We research the subject. We look at the details. We look at the evidences and the arguments. For example, I'll tell you this. If somebody was saying that they believed in a created God, say like Zeus. Zeus is a created God, by the way. And I know earlier we made a comment about Zeus is like the Almighty. Zeus is nothing like the Almighty God. The Christian conception of God is completely different than any one of the Greek or Roman or Norse mythologies or something. All of these are created beings. Zeus has parentage. Cronus is Zeus's dad, and Cronus's dad and mom are Gaia and Uranus.
It's a
And
high.
the
It's a
sky
high.
god.
So the Armenians are gonna say.
No,
The Armenians are gonna say Gaia. Gaia.
God said?
She's a hot. She's.
That's where my ancestry is from. But look, I've been recently teaching this stuff. I've been recently teaching Greek mythology to a bunch of 3rd, 4th to 8th graders, so it's fresh in my mind.
Can we come sit in?
Seriously.
Absolutely.
There's a lot I didn't learn between 4th and 10th grade.
You're not alone.
Lavajal's in 4th and now.
Well, now
He stopped learning.
I was a horrendous student, by the way. Junior high school, I got my diploma already, so I cheated a lot in high school.
Yeah.
This is a confession time, and got by.
He's an
somehow.
apologist,
I
but right
didn't-
now he's just doing confession.
I'm actually apologizing. Here. I'm sorry.
It's funny you say this because when we put your flyer up, somebody reached out to me, and they said, "Why are you inviting that guy to the show?" I said, "Well, he's going to be a guest. I ask you to obviously, respect the guest." He goes, "I went to middle school and I went to high school with this guy." And again, if you want me to stop, I'll stop now.
No, go. Hey, there's nothing hidden.
Yeah. So I was like,
I'm bad.
yeah. He's like, "I went to middle school and high school with this guy." I was like, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" He goes, and I'm sorry for saying this, but he goes, "He's a piece of shit."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Well, I don't know him. I mean, where did you go to high school?"
Clark.
Okay, yeah, that's hence the reason why we don't know each other. But I'm like, I don't know him. I'm
Wait, since you went to Clark, that means you had to have actually 2.0.
Oh, man. Yeah, I had that. I had
know,
that.
seriously, how the hell did you get into Clark?
I had that in
You
middle
were in
school.
the first class that went to Clark.
Look, I'm not
right?
saying I was stupid. I just didn't apply myself.
So we were stupid for not going to Clark.
No.
No,
Thank you,
that's not what he's
appreciate
saying.
I
Clark
didn't exist
look.
when you were going to school.
But anyways, he said,
So
So
he
I'm
said,
not
yeah,
stupid.
he's like, I was like, and then I was like,
He didn't have
Yourself more
he didn't have a
credit,
kind
brother.
opinion of me.
yeah, I was like, I don't know him. I mean, I'm gonna meet him for the first time.
Yeah.
I've seen him online and on, on social media and stuff. But as far as me knowing who, I'm not gonna call the guy a piece of shit. I don't know him. So he goes, "No, man."
Well, you
This-
just did if you said
he
that.
But
goes-
what did I do?
and he was like, he said he was a very again.
Say
I'm
it,
sorry to
say it, say
he
it,
was a
say it.
very disgusting human being in middle school and in high school. I said, "What do you mean?"
Those
He
are some
goes,
dirty ass words. by
"Yeah,"
the way.
and he was like, he thought he was better than everybody.
That's probably true.
He would push people around,
That's true.
and I was like,
So what's wrong
I'm
with
like,
everything?
bro, you're talking about a pastor here. You know, somebody who's going to be coming on and we're going to be talking about God. He goes, no, man. This guy, he was like, and he mentioned this story. He said, mention this story. You remember Round Table and Told.
Oh man.
So he goes,
Yeah.
I'm with my friends. We're sitting around the table. And he comes up to me and he says, you know, who are you? Get your backpack and leave. And he goes, well, I'm Armenian. And he said, again, quote unquote, he goes, I don't care if you're Armenian or not. You don't belong here.
Oh Lord.
Whoa.
Look.
Okay.
And again, I'm sorry for putting you on the
No,
spot.
I'll tell you this, bro.
Jesus.
There, some years ago.
Don't use God's name in vain.
Some years ago, I was preaching at a Bible study, and I'm teaching, and some folks walk in late.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that walks in, I recognize him because I went to high school with him.
Was it him?
No.
Okay.
This guy walks in, sees I'm teaching, turns around,
Leaves.
and leaves. Later on, I caught
Dude,
up
what
with
did
them
you
at
do?
So I'm very sorry to this individual, by the way.
Yeah, we're not going to say
no,
his
So-
name.
so-
by
so
the way.
you remember this story
No,
or
I
no?
don't, but I've done stuff like this.
Ah.
I know I've done stuff like this because I've done it more
But
than
who
once.
hasn't back in those days, bro?
No, bro, you have to understand. This guy was like, "Can I call you?" I was like, "Just DM me, bro." He goes, "No, I need to talk to you." I was like,
man.
and mind you, he's older than me. What year did you graduate?
Oh, 3.
Yeah, he's your age.
Yeah.
He's your age.
Wait, Arno, you're telling me in high school you didn't do shit like that, or middle school? You guys were all.
I would
Well,
never.
maybe
I would
hold
hold on.
but he's
again,
saying I'm a pastor, and this
Okay,
guy's
but
religious
what
now.
you're
well-
talking about middle school, bro. If you bring up middle school,
no, I
we're
mean,
all
I would
gonna go to jail.
No. I look at it as like I again, I'm not to step on your toes or anything or to discuss. Like I would never tell somebody, who are you? Why are you here? Get your shit and leave.
I would.
Again, I'm not saying that.
I've probably done worse
You
than
think you think I mock people now? You should have seen
my
me in
God.
high school sitting in front of Vaz's class at lunchtime. Man.
That's different, bro.
Everybody
Miss
that walked
Vazay,
by.
we would mock
no.
Miss Vazay.
I didn't have Vazay as a teacher, but during lunch we would sit there, right across this, the room. There was that like plantation type of.
where the Hynadars were.
Yeah,
The 3 trees.
every
Plantation.
every kid that
you mean
walked
planters, not plantations.
by, yeah, whatever it was called, I don't know. Plantation.
Astrology, astronomy.
You're gonna get flagged
Yeah.
for that one.
Every kid that walked by, dude, the things we would call them on the spot, just come up with some bullshit, mocking, making fun of them, dude.
No, I get it. I think.
Look, guys, honestly, let me just. I mean, I have a mentor.
Again, we're trying to make the guy feel better. It's like,
No,
we're gonna,
no. That's very unnecessary. I've reasoned through a lot of these things, and I've actually gone and confessed my sins to people and apologized for stuff I've done, including teachers, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
That takes a big man to do that.
Yeah. Well, here's
Ardmore, you think you can do
to
that,
the
bro?
best of
What?
my-
Like, go back and apologize to all. Bro, you know how many
There's
teachers
too
I made
many.
cry? Come on,
No,
bro.
look.
There's too many to go back. I apologize.
To the ones that
Mr. Goody Two Shoe has never said anything to
the ones
me.
that I had the opportunity to look. We started this whole conversation talking about the good news and the gospel and how
Yeah.
Jesus died for our sins and stuff like that. And I think people who've known me, and I have friends who've known me since 6th grade. Not many friends I have like that, but I have really good friends who've known me and seen the change in my life. And some of them are still in shock, and some of them are not Christians in the sense that I am, and kind of say, we don't know what happened to you. And I say, well, hey, this is what happens when someone follows Jesus. I mean, we were talking about what does it mean for someone to follow Jesus. My life's been changed. And so these things aren't hidden. These things aren't in the past. Look, I'm not perfect. I still make stupid decisions. If you want to know about the stupid decisions I make, you should probably have my wife sitting next to me.
She'll tell you all about it.
I think that's probably true for all.
I told you don't bet our house on black.
Is that young man tuning in tonight at least? Or?
Yeah, he is.
So-
he said he is.
So, brother, I'm very sorry. I was young and stupid, and I wasn't following Jesus.
Is there somebody?
now I
Is
am.
there? I was gonna give his initial, but
Well, I mean,
No,
here's the
don't.
way I would look at it. If the
unfair.
person is gonna say all that, why not just
yeah.
call the
I
guy
mean,
or find him online and just
I mean,
tell
look at
him.
it-
Very clearly, it's left some kind of a mark on him,
Yeah.
right? Like, again, I take this very seriously because there's guys I know that situations like that had happened, and I'm friends with now. Like, we saw each other, and then he was like, "Hey, man, you did this," and I was like, "Yeah, and
Shit happens.
Yeah,
No,
like
I
see
mean,
these
I
guys
did,
saying,
you know?
"Oh, you never did." Like we did stupid stuff in high school as well, but
I bullied some folks. It's not right. It seriously is not right.
I mean, were you a legit like bully?
I wouldn't say that.
Because
it was
there's
more in,
bullying.
the-
Like look at it this way: we bully each other all the time, but we look at each other and we laugh it off and we like give each other high fives. And then there's bullying as far as well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
High five, guys.
Fun stuff, guys. Fun stuff, guys. Fun stuff.
Don't gayify the show, bro. We give each other high fives.
Whatever.
And
But
Stop being homophobic, bro.
there's Wise Nuts bullying, and then there's Back to the Future Biff bullying.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I would say I was like just out there to bully folks, but
Okay,
it was
good,
in
good,
that
good,
Hayastansi-
good,
I was
good.
in that Hayastansi, like Robbie's mindset. And I
Oh, so
took
you
some
weren't.
stuff
You didn't find your
very
inner Hainadarts
seriously.
yet.
I did not. Oh no,
He
I
fa-
was like,
he found his inner Hainadarts later on in his life.
yeah, that's true.
Harut's right. He goes, you guys, the moment you apologize, we're gonna get canceled. So
Oh, that's true.
I take my apology back. Fuck
yourself.
anybody.
Fuck you, Miss Bazay. I hope you.
Oh wow, don't say stuff.
No,
like
this
that.
was not about Vazet,
Hey,
bro.
guys,
We just happened to sit in front of a
Guys,
class.
But at the
Um,
end of the day, our viewers today are probably religious people compared to the other weeks.
You don't think they use profanity?
Do
I don't.
religious people
I
use
don't.
profanity?
I used to
Like
use-
all day I've been paying attention.
You
and
don't
this
get
man
road
has not
rage? You
once-
don't get road rage?
So look, no, I'll tell you a couple of things. So I used to have an extremely dirty mouth, like every other word was a cuss
Yeah.
word, and this is whatever you guys want to put it into the realm of mystical experiences or whatever like that. When I started following Jesus, the first thing and the easiest thing that got cleaned up in my life was my language.
Yeah.
I was smoking at the time, and smoking was not as easy as that.
Yeah.
But my language changed, man. And do I get angry where I wanna cuss? Of course, but I don't. I don't get road rage. Sometimes I intentionally put myself in traffic. This is weird, man.
Okay,
Sorry, guys, but this is real
this is
weird
going
stuff.
pretty bad.
So because I think patience is a virtue.
Right.
And I think you have to work on patience. It's not something that gets dropped on you, right? I mean, there's all sorts of quotes like "Don't ask God for patience," he'll make your life very difficult. But I'll put myself intentionally, not all the time, but sometimes if I have time.
It goes on the 405 on purpose. Joke.
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
should,
where
you
am
should
I
have been,
going?
you should have been
Tahanga.
on the 405 today.
Yeah, it's like, where am I going? Tahanga. Fuck it. Take the 405. We're going to Tahanga. Take the 405.
Let's
I
go in
said
the
take the
slowest
phone.
lane.
Yeah.
That's also part of the reason why I enjoy like camping and just observing the stars and nature and stuff like that, because I think it develops certain things in you that nothing else can.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a psalm in the Bible that says, "When I observe the heavens, the sky, space, and the creation of your hands, I think to myself, what are we that you think
In the
about
mic,
us?
yeah.
You care about us. Like, what are human beings that you actually care
Yeah.
about us?" And I think reflections like that are very important.
But why is cussing such a big deal, though? I'm not saying like
Look, I
cussing every other word, but like, you're like,
yeah. So here's
what the
What did Noah say a couple of weeks ago? What did he say? Please elaborate. Please elaborate. Mind you, my daughter. I've said shit a couple of times, and my daughter catches me. She goes, "Dad, you said a bad word."
Yeah, don't say it.
Even stupid. She says stupid is a bad word.
Kids are sponges, man.
Yeah, I'm like on the phone. I'm like, I hang up the phone. I'm like, you stupid idiot, bro. And
That's
my
why-
daughter's like, "Oh, Papa, you said a bad word."
That's why Noah's not allowed to watch my podcast anymore.
Yeah. Well, what did Noah say again?
Because
And how did he do it?
Yeah, he wanted to do something, and I said, no, you can't do that right now. And he got like a little frustrated. He's like, but I want to do it. I said, no, not right now. We're gonna do this, and then you can do that. And he just walks away. He's like, fuck. Like,
Look, where the hell did you?
and then I realize sometimes when I'm on the phone and I'm dealing with the situation,
And he's staring right
then,
at you.
Then I'll hang up the phone when it's done. I'll be like another situation I gotta handle.
Oh, but you
And-
don't tell yourself, like, you walk around wearing a hat that has a fuck.
I don't walk around that.
well,
We-
yeah,
I
he
only,
can't read you.
I only wear it at Whole Foods and Sprouts.
Wow, you know exactly where to wear them.
Trader Joe's.
No,
By
they-
the way, Arno wants to know: do we also play footsies?
We
Of course
do.
we do.
Or does it end at high
we,
fives?
we play footsies, pocket pool, everything. The whole 9 yards.
My feet have not been touched as of yet. So
And a couple of these guys are switch hitters. Arno John Hangi step up.
look, what's wrong with cussing? I think generally speaking that the Bible tells us to be disciplined. I think the Bible tells us that we need to control our speech and language, and we got to use our words to bless people and not curse people. Now, I would say that there's a difference between being vulgar and then using profanity.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't make this distinction. A lot of religious folks don't make this distinction. I think there's like vulgar, rash language that I don't necessarily use, but I wouldn't put it in the same category as profanity. Profanity would be stuff that I would say is meant for holy purposes by God, where we take and make unholy and use kind of on the whim. And so,
Can you give examples?
Oh my
like
god.
the F word.
Mm-hmm.
The F word would be a profane word, in my opinion, because I think sex is made by God as a holy instrument in marriage for enjoyment and reproduction.
So
and
for
I think,
enjoyment as well.
I don't know about you, man, but sex is fun.
I understand, but you're saying religiously. You said Bible-wise.
He's had sex twice.
and I had
he has two kids.
And that's it right there.
Well,
But I'm
one
saying
and done, baby.
with the
Yeah.
Bible,
Yeah, absolutely.
is that part of it?
Look, when God commands Adam and Eve to have children, he says to them, he brings them together and says, "Be fruitful and multiply." It's a blessing.
He
Now,
said have fun while
now,
you're doing
look,
it? Or?
be fruitful and multiply. Implied in there is that there's an enjoyment. Clearly, there's an enjoyment. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. And I would say my interpretation of that, and this is not just mine, but have sex and lots of it.
Yes.
So I think there's a reason religious people tend to have more children, right? I mean, I don't know if you've observed Catholic families.
Yeah,
You think they
they-
have more sex, or they just don't use
No, there's been studies on this.
prophylactics
Religious.
as much?
That's well, it's true that
What-
Catholic theology specifically forbids
bunch of
folks-
Irish twins. And by Irish twins, that means the child is born in 2 kids are born in 1 year. That's an Irish twin, people.
Is that what it is?
That's what an Irish twin. You didn't know that? Yeah.
That's
And,
hilarious.
yeah, guys. Irish twin is basically 2 kids that are born in 1 year.
Look, I think
Catholic.
that God is
Irish.
not against us having fun. A lot of people think God is against us having fun, and this is one of the things that I said. I said I'm pretty kind of brutally harsh on the church. Is that sometimes people look at Christians and they say, "Man, this guy has a very boring life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to become a Christian because this guy. What is this? This is like not an existence. Where's like the celebration and the happiness in your life?" And so when I read the New Testament, Jesus says, I came to give you life and life more abundantly. I mean, what does an abundant life look like? It looks like a life that has joy,
Satisfying.
satisfied, happiness.
What does
Right,
it say
like-
about drinking? Curious.
What does the Bible say about
Yeah.
drinking? It says, do not get drunk.
It says drink
Yeah,
wine.
be
but
sober-minded, but don't get drunk. Now, I think there's a wisdom issue here. Some people can't drink in the sense that every time they drink, they get drunk. So anything that has control over you and you're no longer sober-minded, you shouldn't participate in coming from a Christian worldview. By the way, that can be anger.
Yeah.
So anger is a thing that puts us out of a sober mind. We can't think rationally and
Yeah,
straight.
definitely.
And so that's why the Bible says, and this is in the context of marriage, right? Be angry, but don't sin in your anger. Now, you can get angry because there's situations in life where the natural and the correct response is only anger. Okay? So we can give all sorts of examples about this. Say, like every single one of us, if we get some news, some 3-year-old was raped somewhere. If we're like, whatever, bro, we're desensitized.
But we're getting there.
Well, I agree with you, and that's because we have an overstimulation of information.
But is it a
We need to
sin to
chill.
basically try to capture that person and basically butcher him?
Wanting to do that, yeah, I would say so. I
Forget about the law.
Yeah, forget about the law.
Like,
yes,
Me, as in, like, if I hear a person took their own child, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, whatever, it doesn't matter how old the kid is, and killed their own child, is it a sin for me to basically want to take that or even envision myself wanting to punish that person to a point where
Capital punishment?
they're
Look,
no
I'm-
longer breathing?
I am a firm believer in capital punishment. Okay, look, I'm like more right than most people are. Like I'm.
Wow.
You believe in capital
I am-
punishment?
yeah, absolutely.
But is it
Wow.
okay as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
biblically now or religiously? Is capital punishment?
Yeah, I think there's passages in the Bible. Look, in the Old Testament, there's capital punishment very clearly. There are things that people do where the punishment is death. No questions about it. Okay? What I would say is there's a reason God has instituted governments. And that's like, according to, for those who are watching, you guys want to reference this, Romans chapter 13 tells us the reason God instituted governments is that so that they would bear the sword to punish the evildoer. Every human society should have a functional government to it for the purposes of punishing evildoers. So if there isn't, he said, forget about the law. That's very difficult because every time a bunch of humans get together, they come up with some laws. It's what we need to function.
The more humans, the more laws.
Yeah, I mean, and then we have lawyers, right? Like,
And passports.
But that's the thing. Now, I would say if I joined this, I'm trying to give examples of real life because there's been situations like this. Let's say I joined this tribe or something like that, and I realize they have no punishment for people who do stuff like that. As a Christian, my first intent would be to come up with a law. If I have any kind of a say in that, I would come up with just laws to punish evildoers. I think that's the biblical and godly thing to do. And it's no surprise to me that most of the founders of the United States were Bible-believing Christians. Okay? If you guys haven't looked into a guy named John Jay, who's, I think he's the first justice of the Supreme Court. He was also governor of New York. He outlawed slavery in New York way before the slavery conversation was even in the picture, like really, really early.
Oh, shit.
And there's a reason for that, is because he thought this was inhumane, this was wrong, and he based it biblically. And there's tons of people around him that were arguing for these things, writing about them, giving talks about them, pastors, preachers who were regularly on their Sundays preaching. Now, were they the other side? Going back to the question he was asking, I don't want people to say you ignored his question, because I think it's a legitimate question of people have used religion to do all sorts of wrong stuff. Mm-hmm. Were there people around them who were justifying the Bible to, excuse their evil actions? Yes, but
it's not people. We're talking about possibly billions of people.
Sure, but
like I don't
know. I don't know what kind of numbers we can give, and some of them are gray, to be frank and honest. Like the Crusades, not all the Crusades are very easy to judge as to what's going on. Okay, some of them are defensive wars, some of them are offensive.
Majority offensive.
Depends. For example, like there's like a children's crusade where a bunch of young people are walking to Jerusalem and they got slaughtered on the way there.
Yeah.
And they're European Christian children. Like nobody talks about this, and that was considered a crusade, right? There's like a women's crusade. There's all sorts of stuff. But let's just say, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, that's true. The question really should come down to, does the ideology itself produce that kind of behavior? Okay? Not have people excuse themselves to use it to abuse that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I can't ever see Jesus, right? Like Jesus says, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, for example, right? And I don't know how someone can read that and say, yeah, you know what that means? Let's go kill him. How do you interpret that? Like, you have to completely ignore it. By the way, there were Bibles that were given to slaves that had portions of them taken out.
What's the most peaceful religion?
What is the most peaceful religion?
When you hear about it,
Historically,
what's the most peaceful religion?
Every religion has their... I got to be very careful here. People who've claimed religions have blood on their hands from all walks of life.
Because,
for example, Hinduism. A lot of people think Hinduism is like super peaceful and stuff like that. Like, go to India. There's women who are getting acid thrown on their faces because they're from a different religion and they refuse to marry a Hindu guy. Mm-hmm. They just reject them. Say the girl's a Muslim. Okay, it doesn't even have to be a Christian, and she can marry a non-Muslim. The guy goes. He's from his village. He's a Hindu, and says, "Hey, would you marry me?" She says, "No." And she's walking to get water one day. Dude pops up with acid in his face and acid in his hands and throws it on her face, completely disfigures her. She can't ever get married. This happens on a regular basis.
Would you say that? But would you
shot?
You could say that happened in 301.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this because I really want to talk about this stuff with Vahan.
Okay.
Because I know it's their comments he makes. Look. People
Can we
who
take a call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
You want
do it.
to finish what
Yeah,
you're
I'll say
finish
this.
what you're saying. Is
I'll say this: people who've claimed Christianity have made all sorts of bad decisions throughout history. There's no questions about that.
Yeah.
The question becomes whether Christianity encouraged that or discouraged that, and how can we judge that situation?
Because I mean, again, I'm not a historian. I know certain things about Armenian history, but as far as me being a professional at it, or Armand or Edgar, either one of us, no. But
Yeah.
obviously, going back to the stories of Vartan Mamikonian and 301 AD, there's certain things that we know about as far as what happened
Sure.
with Armenians and Christianity and paganism and all this stuff. But again, we'll leave that for the discussion between you
just
and Vaughn.
just a comment before. There was Christians in Armenia for 300 years.
Of
before
course, no,
301.
there was,
And they weren't killing everyone. There, as a matter of fact, they were being persecuted and living in caves.
yeah.
So what happened? That's really, that's a subject.
But
of
at
a
the end of
debate.
the day, can we just ask one question? Was Christianity pushed on the Armenian people or not?
I would say both, and I'd say that's just true of the ancient world. There's people who are willingly accepting Christianity and being devoted to Jesus, and then there's social pressures that come into the picture, political ideologies and pressures, by the way, for all sorts of reasons that we know politicians use. This isn't new, Politicians were using ideologies to push it on the populace back then as well. So all that stuff, I think, is there. I don't think history is this very simple thing where you go, it was either this or that.
Okay.
It's a very complex machine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
right?
Chris, are you?
Chris, you're live on the Wise Nuts. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Chris,
Good
This is
evening. How
cool,
are you?
man. You guys got a sick setup here, man.
You thought you had to go to the phone.
No, I was like, it's gonna be on
payphone over
speaker.
there. Hello?
Man, hey, I gotta give it up to the Wise Nuts. Their studio is amazing.
He's like, do me a favor, put this quarter in this slot right here and crank it 6 times.
Chris, nice
Sorry,
to have
Chris.
you,
I wasn't expecting you to be in my head.
Wasn't expecting me to be what?
in my head. In
Through the
ears.
headset. Yeah. Go ahead,
I'm in your
Christian.
How are you, Chris?
I'm doing well. I've been listening in for over an hour probably, and very good discussions. And it's nice to meet you, Arthur. I've met the boys before, as you know.
Yes, I have. Nice to meet you too.
So I think everything that you mentioned, historically, and your beliefs and what you've learned, and your degree and everything like that. Respectfully, I understand and accept some of it, and I've had different types of friends throughout my whole life, both agnostic, atheist, very religious Christians, Catholics, Jews, and all that jazz. But one thing that always comes up when the topic of religion does come up between friends or acquaintances is, oh wow, you don't believe in a higher power, or you don't believe in a God, quote unquote, whether that God is a bearded man in the sky, or he's some sort of deity, or just some sort of being that is more powerful and greater than the human race. How do you live your life? And I say, what do you mean? How do I live my life? I live my life righteously. I live my life with my moral compass. I live my life in a kind and loving manner. And those who know me know that that's true, because that's authentically who I am. And I don't need a Bible or the teachings of a Bible or a higher power in order to live that life that way. I don't practice anything that is preached to me. I don't practice anything that I've read out of the good book, quote unquote. And I'm able to make these sound decisions and treat people with respect and love and openness, even with the absence of that. So my question to you is, why, being in your line of work, do you think it's so important to read that and to follow these teachings and what Jesus has supposedly sacrificed himself for? Why is it necessary? Why do I need that when I have proven over and over again on my own that I in fact do not
What?
do not need any of that in order to live a righteous and life of, where
Fulfilling life.
I'm good to people, a fulfilling life, a good life, a kind outtake on things, and treating people with love and respect.
Yeah, the reason why I asked the question is because it really matters, the reasoning as to that, like, why do I live, for what reason, right? So I can answer this in a couple of different ways. One of them being that if God does exist, and if God is ultimately going to be our judge, the reality is that God, being perfect, morally perfect, would have to judge us in a morally perfect way. And even though there's no doubt in my question, in my mind, by the way, like, I don't doubt whatever you're saying about your life, but there's also no doubt in my mind that you have done wrong things. We all have, right? I have to confess my mistreatment of
holds the Bible all day and reads it.
Yeah. So that's exactly the point of Christianity. Christianity says we are all sinners, right? There's a passage in the Bible where it says, "For all have sinned." Every single one of us has done wrong, and every single one of us are in need of redemption. Well, why do we need redemption? Is because God will ultimately judge us and do it perfectly and justly. Like, none of us actually can stand there on the scales, let's just figuratively speaking, and our good deeds are going to outweigh kind of our bad deeds. Number one, because God's not judging it based on equality like that. He demands perfection, and we're all fallen short of that. We've all lied. We've all cheated. We've all done any number of these things. Okay, now Jesus actually puts his ethic is through the roof. He says, if you've gotten angry at your brother in your heart, you've murdered them in your heart. If you've looked at a woman with lust, you've committed adultery. And we've done all of that. And so therefore it puts us in a place where we're in need of forgiveness. We're in need of being redeemed. And that's where the Jesus story comes in there, right? That's where the gospel, the good news that Jesus lived a perfect life. He actually didn't do any of one of those things. He lived a perfect life, and he is that perfect Lamb of God, the sacrifice, and then that substitution and transfer happens. Now, how one lives after the fact of that, whether they're a Christian or not, is a secondary question. So we're not talking about someone earning themselves into heaven, because the reality is that nobody can earn themselves into heaven. I definitely can't, regardless of the amount of good or bad I do. Now, the question you were asking is that, and then there's a secondary question there. It's like, well, I am good. I don't need the Bible to tell me whether I'm, doing right and good and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that human beings are naturally, and I'm going to use my kind of theology here, human beings are naturally made in the image of God, which means that we're moral agents, and we have the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. That's built in us. Now, what I would say, now I don't know if you're an atheist or not. If you are an atheist, I would say that even though you live like that, you don't have the justification to live like that.
Well, what's an atheist at the end of the
day? An
day?
atheist is an individual who rejects that there is a God. Atheism, A is a negation, like the negative sign. So no theism. That's what an atheist is. So an atheist doesn't believe in God. Look, I'm not one of those very silly Christians who thinks, oh, you're an atheist, you must be worshiping the devil. Like, that's complete nonsense. Yeah, anybody who says that, by the way.
On the weekends.
Did you say eat babies?
Please don't ask me to hold my kids.
She's messing.
No, I know.
Only in Hollywood.
Chris, remind me to block you after the show.
So, look, I think when Christians make comments like that, they're being silly. They're uneducated. And again, I'm going to go very harsh on the church. They're uneducated. They don't have a proper definition of what an atheist is. There's plenty of atheists that are good people. And they do plenty of good stuff.
A majority of atheists.
And by the way, there's plenty of Christians that are very lousy sleazeballs. And so there's no question about that. The question is whether we're going to stand before God's judgment or not. And what does Christianity present as a way out of that?
Right. But again, being an agnostic or even an atheist, and for the sake of this argument, if I don't believe in that such power, I won't really give a beep about standing in front of somebody being judged at the end of my life or during my life or whatever it may be. That doesn't exist to me. That idea doesn't exist to me, to be judged by some being. I am my
So you don't believe in Judgment Day and all that, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Nor do I believe in some heavenly place or some hell-like place. I
Which is,
believe in myself. I
makes
believe in
sense.
the things that I have done, and how honest and righteous I am within myself, and how I project that onto others. And if I don't believe in that deity, if I don't believe in that person or being up above me, or in the universe, whatever you want to call it, then that judgment day won't even matter to me.
But
Correct?
do you believe in the
Yeah.
higher power, though, Christine?
I
Well,
don't
regardless, let's
believe-
just assume atheism.
No, but
sorry,
does,
but
do
exactly.
Your
atheists
question-
believe
I
in
don't-
higher power or not?
no, because they don't believe that there's anything beyond this. Now, Chris, I would say that reality doesn't care about your feelings. Now, I'm not trying to be offensive here, right? Like facts don't care about our feelings.
But
I might not believe-
your reality.
but-
Your reality is based on your life and what you've studied. And if you might talk to another individual who's an intellect like you, who
Sure.
is educated like you, who has gotten the proper education and read his books and done his research and yada yada with science and physics and religion, all of those things combined in order to form an opinion. These are not realities. These are opinions based on your research that you've
Yeah.
done as an individual. That's
So that's where I
one of my
disagree
main
with
points.
you, that these aren't opinions. Beliefs aren't just opinions, by the way. Beliefs are things we deem to be true. Because if they're not things we believe, if beliefs are the kind of
What?
things we don't define, if beliefs are not the kind of stuff that we think are true, then we should not believe them, right?
Right, so therefore
Yeah.
I
So
do not believe
what you're
them.
saying violates a number of, I would say, logical laws. Okay, or there's some fallacies in there. Just because I don't believe in, say, the laws of physics doesn't mean the laws of physics don't exist, and somehow that if I get up on a building and I jump, they're not going to apply to me. What I'm
No,
claiming, sorry, let me finish
right.
my thought. What I'm claiming here as a Christian is not that, me and a bunch of people really want there to be a God, and we really think there's a God, but whatever. That's not what we're saying. The Christian worldview is saying there is a God. This is the reality of the universe. Okay. Now, if you don't believe in this God, then you should come to believe in this God, because this is the reality of the thing. If I'm talking to, say, someone who is a Muslim, someone who's a Hindu or something like that, then I would say you're wrong in your Hinduism. You're wrong in being a Muslim because, for example, Muslims don't believe Jesus died. Okay?
Right.
So I think they're wrong about that. It's a historically verified subject that they're wrong about. I don't care whether they, however much they want to believe it, however much it's religious.
So they don't
Now-
think Jesus died as in the
He-
way
he
we
was never
think.
crucified.
Never crucified, but he died.
No,
because-
no, they don't think he died. They don't think Jesus experienced death. We can talk about that, but that's
Man,
the
that's
example I'm using.
Crazy shit.
The reason why I'm saying this is because if we're talking about reality, then whether you believe or don't believe, whether the judgment will happen to you or won't happen to you, doesn't really apply. Because if it is the reality, then it will apply to you, whether you believe it or don't believe it. Now, I'm not a relativist, and it seems to me that some of the stuff you're saying, and I'll define relativism, is relativistic, at least religious relativism, meaning that all religions somehow try to come to some truth. They might have a bunch of stuff in common, and they're just the opinion of these individuals. If people have actually presented Christianity like that, they've misrepresented Christianity. And I'll take it back to extremely famous words by Jesus, who said, "I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. Nobody goes to the Father except through me." That's a pretty exclusive statement, okay? For him to say, "I am the truth," and nobody goes to the Father except through me. That excludes all religions except him, and that establishes him as the foundational truth to existence itself. So I don't buy relativism, and that's where I would disagree with you on.
Harry suggested bringing up Pascal's wager
Sure. I mean,
but again,
to who?
this is
To
your
her.
reality
to Chris.
based on your teachings, based on your religion, and based on everything you've come to know to be true to you. There's over 2,000 different religions, and
Sure.
they're only one step away from being an atheist like me. for
Yeah, I don't
example.
buy that. Sorry, that's like internet atheist commentary there. I really don't buy that. Not to be offensive. I'll put it
I
this
know,
way.
but
Look,
there are.
there's a
okay,
logical
let's just say
deduction.
it's not 2,000. It's 100.
It could be
maybe
50
200,
million.
what-
It doesn't matter.
whatever it may
the
be.
numbers are a smoke screen. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Okay, because every single one of these religions, for example, Hinduism has 300 million gods. Okay, I mean it's so vast to study and get all the details. It's
Does
virtually
that give them
impossible.
more to sell?
Did you say 300 million gods?
Yeah, all sorts of animals and creatures and stuff. Now, here's what I would say. Every single religion out there falls into like 3 or 4 categories. You have monotheism, you have pantheism, you have what's called panentheism. Did I say polytheism? No, polytheism, right? So it's like 4 or 5 categories. So we have to think about this instead of thinking about it as 2,000 different religions. Every single one of them fall into a category. A vast majority of these, as a matter of fact, every single one of them, except the 3 monotheistic religions, believe in created gods. Okay? They believe that their gods at one point or another came into existence, which to me is extremely silly.
Would humanity be better off with or without religion overall?
Hang on, that's like taking us somewhere else. You just threw a boulder.
Edgar tends to do
Came
that
to
sometimes.
me like it just came to me.
I know.
Like,
hang on to that.
look at everything humans have been through,
Listen,
bro.
put the pin back in the bomb.
hang on with the grenade. Just hang on to it. You want
Don't
blow
throw
up.
it.
Hold on. I want to hear what he's saying.
So every single one of these, so every single one of these worldviews, and I can add atheism to it because it's a worldview too, or at least can develop into some. Every single one of them believe in a created God, except monotheism. Okay, and so they're philosophically unacceptable because if a God began to exist, then I don't think this deity is actually worthy of the name God. Okay, because they are what we would say a contingent being. Their existence is reliant on something else. Okay. They can even exist. They can even have, whatever, a ridiculous amount of power or something like that. But that really doesn't put them in a place for me to worship them or anything like that. And so I would boil that, and they don't give us.
How does your God be any better than Allah or just God Himself? Where Jews say there's no Jesus, there's only God.
Okay,
how is yours any better than theirs?
Yeah, so
yours is better. Theirs is saying theirs is better.
Okay, it's not that it's better. I don't.
Okay,
sorry, I don't like that. So
the mightier one,
no,
the stronger one.
True, and that's why I said there's 3 monotheistic religions, and that would include Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Every single one of these believe in a God that is a personal being, that is the creator, sustainer of the universe, all powerful, whatever. The basic general conception of God we get, these 3 religions agree on. What really distinguishes Christianity from the other 2 is the person of Jesus. Okay, and it is this. It is that Christians claim that Jesus came into this world, lived a holy life, died and resurrected from the dead. Okay, the Jews reject that.
Holy life and died at 32, bro.
33, yeah.
33.
They were murdered at 33. That's probably. And so the Jews reject that, and the Muslims reject that. And that's, as a matter of fact, when we read the Bible in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, Paul says this. He says, if Jesus did not resurrect from the dead, our faith is meaningless and useless. Let's go eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we all die. Okay, so according to one of the authors of the New Testament, he says if Jesus didn't resurrect, we're completely wasting our time. And I agree with him. If Jesus did not resurrect from the dead, I'm completely wasting my time. I should have probably, if that's the case, then I should have become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, like my dad would have wanted me to. Now, I think to answer your question, what distinguishes Christianity from the other 2 monotheistic religions, it's the resurrection of Jesus. And if someone's actually interested in this subject, I would say pick up the subject of the resurrection, because it is a matter of life and death, eternally speaking, right? And study it into the ground. Get all the books for it, get all the books against it that you can, watch the videos, watch the lectures, read up, study for and against, and see where the evidence lays itself. Okay. And I'm confident enough. I'm not alone in this, but plenty of Christian apologists say these same words. I'm confident enough that when you're honest with the data and you actually put the case for and against it, Christianity stands head and shoulders above the rest. And I would say then you become a Christian.
Are you ready, Christine?
But again,
listen, I would never do that. It's
why is my question. Why do I need that?
Well, why do you believe 2 plus 2 and why do you believe 2 plus 2 is 4?
That's a fact.
No,
Yeah, because truth.
why do I need to believe in such a being that you are explaining to me right now? If Jesus is like head and shoulders above and
No,
beyond,
I was saying
fantastic.
that was a reference to the evidence for that is head and shoulders above. The reason why you need it is because it's true. Because we should be people who pursue truth, and we should believe all things that are true. I mean, even if there's no practical benefit we get from a subject, if it's true, we should believe it. Right? For example, I'll give something that maybe the audience and the guys here won't like. Look, I might not be a fan of Brandon, but if Brandon is the best president that we've had, and that's true, then I would have to believe it.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
We're done. Mic drop. I'm done.
Brandon,
Right?
He's taking
He's cautious about the censorship.
That's just the reality of it, right? Like I think that the chief pursuit of human existence is truth. Now I'm in agreement here with all the ancient Greek thinkers and philosophers. The best thinkers throughout history said it's kind of the purpose of life is to pursue truth, beauty, and goodness. And I want to pursue that. If God exists and that's true, I want to believe that. If God does not exist, then I will become an atheist tomorrow.
Okay.
I'd like to sleep on it at least.
And we can go on for hours about whether or not he exists based on your beliefs and mine. And again, I'm not disrespecting your beliefs. As I said, I have had very different people. I've actually managed to be friends with a Jehovah's Witness, if you could imagine that.
Whoa.
But
you're accomplished there.
I know, right? But again, it all boils down to, okay, if, and I say this, very
just say it, please. It takes a lot for me to get offended, so just say it.
If he exists,
sure.
Again, I don't know. You might believe that he exists, and several people may believe that he exists, and some people, like myself, will say, I don't have enough evidence to show that he exists. I cannot go on faith alone. I cannot go on preaching alone.
I don't do that.
I think
I don't believe in
the
that.
tangible thing apply to you as well, I guess.
What is that? I didn't hear.
You need something more tangible to believe.
Yes, that's
So okay, so let me.
I think
We'll
with
get
Chris
to
and Arthur, it gets to the point where, turn that down a little bit. Sorry, where it's like, Chris can't be convinced there is a God because there's just no evidence that'll convince her that's saying that, okay, look, at Jesus exists.
No. If there is evidence that's like profoundly there, and I've read a lot, I've talked to a lot of people, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't.
Yeah, there's no changing your mind as far as I can't believe whatever I'm hearing as far as. Even going back to the beginning of the podcast where I mentioned besides the hearsay, going back to the stories of the Adam and Eves, the Noah's Arks, all those things where it's kind of like you're kind of saying that, okay, these are just stories. I can't. There's no hard evidence behind it. How can I believe something you continue to kind of?
Yeah. So here's what I would say. Look, I don't think that faith is something that's blind. I think anybody that does is silly. Nothing should be believed in a blind manner. The Bible doesn't define faith as blind belief, by the way. In Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, it defines faith, as a matter of fact. It says faith is the evidence of things hoped for and the assurance of things not seen. Right? So there's evidence used there and assurance. And that's a biblical definition that I hold to. I would say, now I can go into details and ask you very pointed questions, but I think there is evidence. I think there's very strong evidence as to why God exists, okay, and why Christianity is specifically true. Now, I mentioned the resurrection. Everybody has to answer the empty tomb question. The tomb of Jesus is empty on the third day. Whether you're an atheist, whether you're a theist, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Jew, everybody has an answer to that question, by the way. Everyone attempts to give an answer, and put it that way. The Muslim answer is that he never died, so he never was buried in the tomb. He was just like whooshed into heaven. Now, should I trust the writings of Muhammad 600 years after the fact? Probably not. I'd rather trust the writings of the disciples of Jesus who were there and witnessed the events. They're eyewitnesses. In any court of law, they'd be fine.
And when did they write their stuff?
Depends. I mean, they're not all writing at the same time. But look, do you have any significant events that have taken place in your life, like 20 years ago?
No.
No?
All of us have.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
What were you doing on 9/11?
Who, me?
No,
College.
any one of us.
I was
I was in
I was
college.
getting ready to go to school.
Okay. Do
I
you
was
remember the
in
event? Do you
school.
remember seeing? I was
Yes.
getting ready to. I know I was eating breakfast. I know exactly what was taking
Yeah.
place.
No, I was getting ready to go to
Yeah.
school. I got
Same-
to
same
school and
here.
the teachers had basically that had the TVs in the classroom. Were like, sick, nice TV day today.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she flips it on. And I'm
Crying.
looking and I'm like, holy shit, we're under attack. I mean, it's a significant event that took place.
So significant events generally to human psychology get implanted in our minds. Not only that,
Mhm.
if it was so significant that we were sharing that story over and over and over again, then it's going to become much easier to remember, especially if that significant event, especially if we're in a culture that is an auditory culture. It's not a written language culture, which is what the culture of the Bible is. I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
Today I went to rent a car and the guy asked me for my wife's phone number, and I said, wait, let me pull it up and look at it. And he said, don't worry, I won't tell her. I said, no, it's fine, you could tell her because she knows I don't remember her phone number, but I remember phone numbers of friends I had in 7th grade.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right, because I would say the retelling of the story of the resurrection, even atheist scholars would agree with me that the main skeleton of this story is completely intact, and that includes the empty tomb. That includes the Jesus disciples running around afterwards saying he's come back from the dead physically. I think
Couldn't the tomb have been emptied by
it could have
by
been.
the Jews to,
Yeah.
to get rid of evidence?
Yes.
So it's
Exactly.
funny,
Thank you,
right?
Edgar.
Because
Or
that wouldn't benefit
whoever
them.
that was.
So that wouldn't benefit them. As a matter of fact, what the Bible records is that the first story that is told about the empty tomb, other than Jesus' disciples, is the Jewish authorities saying his disciples stole the body. Now that story
Okay.
might fly. Okay, it might fly if we didn't consider the fact that there was Roman soldiers guarding the tomb, and the tomb was sealed because there was stories circulating that Jesus said he was going to come back from the dead. Okay, now,
Right,
by the way, I'll put
exactly.
this, Roman soldiers guarded things with the expense of their life.
Right.
This is just common knowledge that if a Roman soldier lost something on guard, they died.
Mhm.
So they're not kind of
What
like, yeah,
happened
we're
to
not
the
going to get
soldiers that lost the body?
the body of Jesus. They're
Yes.
actually pulled into the leadership room of the Jewish authorities, and they're fed the lie of tell them that the body was stolen, right? And they overpowered us, whatever the story would have been. So they're protected politically because the people that are behind this are pretty powerful people
Behind
um,
what?
behind the killing of Jesus. The authorities are not, some random hooligans that just didn't like Jesus because he rubbed them the wrong way. These are the government officials that Jesus is confronting on a regular basis. They're not only are they secular government officials, but they're also religious government officials. So it's the whole package. If you want to pick a fight, it's probably not what you want to pick a fight with. And Jesus picked that fight. Again, I mean, I can't go in there and say every single one of the details, but the details are out there. The evidence is there.
But again, evidence as far as, I don't want to say he said, she said, but basically people just, and I want to ask you, is everything the people wrote as far as eyewitnesses who witnessed whatever took place as far as, his resurrection and all that, all the stories line up the same exact way? Every single story was told exactly the way.
no, it's not. And
So,
as a matter of
see,
fact,
doesn't that kind of throw a wrench in the
Discredit it?
chain?
no, I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
So there's a Christian apologist, and you guys should look him up. His name is J. Warner Wallace. J. Warner Wallace is probably one of the best, if not the best, homicide detectives in the United States. He's on Nightline, right? That's the one. So he works on
Murder cases?
Yeah, but they're murder cases that haven't been solved for like 30 years.
Unsolved mysteries.
Yeah, well, it's not unsolved. Cold cases. He's a cold case
cases.
homicide detective. Now, J. Warner Wallace was an atheist, and someone challenged him to research God's existence, and he said he applied every single one of essentially what he would use in studying these cold cases, and he became a theist. And then he said he applied the same stuff to the resurrection. Now, here's what he says. He says whenever the police show up to any kind of a scene where somebody's been killed, and say there's 3 witnesses, they take the witnesses, they line them up into, they take them into separate rooms and they question them. If all of their stories line up exactly the same, he says we're automatically suspicious because it's way too similar. No human experiences an event
But,
exactly the same way.
You're talking about a human being coming back to life from the
Yeah.
dead. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. So I mean, it's like kind of coming back from the dead, being resurrected. If everybody's story, if one guy says another story, the other one, then it's like, okay, who do I believe here? What are you saying?
Sure, but
Why-
no, I'm talking about the details of the story. So we're talking about
Okay.
like Jesus' disciples say running to the tomb and the stone is rolled away, and then the way the cloth is lined up. Like that's the kind of details we're talking about because it's mentioned in the book. It's not just like he resurrected. It's like this general thing. Tells us like who saw him first, who was there. For example,
Okay.
the first witnesses of Jesus' resurrection are women. This is insane. In the ancient world, this is insane. Okay, for our modern readers, we don't notice it because in the ancient world, a woman's testimony was completely invalid in a law in a court of law.
Right.
So if you said this event took place,
Man, we've come a
Hey,
long way,
we have.
bro.
so if you said this event happened, and I was like, okay, I have a witness, and they said who, and I said my wife, they would have said, yeah, good try, go away. So if the disciples are making up this story, knowing their culture, they would have come up with like I don't know, really authoritative males who are witnessing this event, not people who everybody's going to discredit. Right now, you got to take the different components. That's one component. You take another component of the disciples, every single one of them being horrendously killed and tortured in completely different parts of the world. If it's a lie they came up with, someone was going to crack. Okay, someone has to crack. What's his name? There's a guy that was a part of the Watergate scandal, Chuck Colson. Okay, Chuck Colson was Nixon's bulldog.
Hillary was part of that shit too, bro.
That's the other gate.
Oh.
Chuck Colson became a Christian after the Watergate scandal, and he said it took 2 weeks and every single person broke. And he wrote on this, and he
Really?
compared this. He was the main guy that was chasing folks down for Nixon, right? He went to jail for it and all this stuff.
Shit.
He's written on this subject, talking about Christianity and how people under pressure will break. Now you're talking about folks, say, who Jesus' disciples traveled to like Iran, Armenia region, and they're filleted alive. They're not even killed and then filleted. They're filleted alive. I would assume someone, by the time, their arm is done, they're like, okay, we just made this stuff up, man. Like, come on. It's like, shoot me in the head. No, you're going to stick to your guns. And again, we're talking about people who will come up with a lie compared to people like I might come up with a lie and then tell him the lie and then he dies for that lie. That's a completely different scenario because he has no firsthand knowledge of what happened. He sincerely believes that. But we're talking about the disciples. Every single one of them Peter is crucified upside down, most likely. It took hours for someone to die on a crucifix. Like I said, people being filleted alive, being stoned to death. I mean, all sorts of horrendous deaths.
So all of his disciples were basically murdered.
Yeah, except for one. John dies of old age.
These John survivors,
There's
bro.
tons of Johns. By the way, John is
these-
the youngest guy. This is the Gospel of. He's the author of the Gospel of John, different than John the Baptist,
Or
but
John the lawyer.
so or that. And John is most likely the youngest of the disciples, so he lives into like the 90s AD. But he's imprisoned on an island called Patmos. So he's in a labor camp essentially.
Is that Greece?
Yeah, it's in that region, and he dies in there. So it's not like these guys all got rich and famous off of it. Like if that was the case, if they had some self-gain, then I would say, okay, there's some credibility to some of this stuff. But every single one of them lost family. They were completely shunned from their communities, and then ended up going through physical pain and torture and death. But they didn't gain anything out of it. Like what's the motivating factor? You have to have a motivating factor for a lie. It has to be there. It's either power or money or I don't know. They're nuts. Jim Jones. You get a group of folks that get together, drink Kool-Aid, and they all die. Like, what is it? And you don't have any of those fitting the biblical narrative of the disciples.
Chris, is there anything else that you wanted to ask before we kind of dive into a different kind of topic?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I believe or lack of belief or whatever it may be, one of the things that I had watched and it was like the turning point kind of where I was like questioning religion even more. I mean, I've always questioned everything, and I don't,
As you
have
should,
a
by the
whole-
way. So do I.
right. And there's a lot of things in government that I can't stand, and I disagree with, and it's corrupt, and a lot of aspects of religion when it comes to the church is very corrupt, and that questions my belief in God even more. It discredits God even more because of the heinous things that happen just within the church alone. I'm not even talking about the whole world. I'm not talking about famine. I'm not talking about disaster. I'm not talking about poverty. I'm not talking about children being killed.
Chris,
or
that
whatever.
was something where we were gonna have Vahag and
Vahan.
Vahan. I'm sorry, Vahan and
Right.
Arthur kind of discuss that and go back and forth. Because we wanted to touch base on that topic, but I think having Vahan and Arthur talk about that one-on-one
Sure.
would be a little better.
Sure, of course, and I'm on the same page as Vahan when it comes to that stuff as well. So I mean, I'm gonna listen in on it, and I can,
Hopefully,
nod
hopefully
or
we'll have it
disagree.
before Christmas.
Hopefully.
No pun intended.
Christmas Day special.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Or Jirovnik.
Christmas.
Jirovnik,
He
yeah.
said Christmas
Yeah.
special. Ain't nobody watching basketball anymore. Why not the wise nuts?
Seriously.
Guys, where's the likes, shares? Time to get some likes and shares.
No, but I do have a couple more questions, but again,
Give us one more. Give us
Let's
one more.
go for one more.
All right.
I know you want it. I know you have a couple, but just give us one more, Chris.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. I mean, it's late, and we've been talking for a while. You guys have been talking for a while, but one of the things that I say to myself is, and I don't. Again, there has never been a time in the last maybe 10 plus years that I've felt this way. Have I ever gone into a church or been alone in my room or on a mountain somewhere or just anywhere in my thoughts, alone in my car? Have I ever said to somebody out there, oh God, please, can you give me XYZ? For example, can I win the lottery? Can I have good health?
So
Can I?
let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a situation where you were dealing with like a severe health issue, whether it's you personally or a family
yes.
member?
Yes.
And
yes, absolutely.
and
I've never prayed to anybody.
You never prayed.
That was where I was getting to.
Because that's where
I'm
most
sure that was your
people
question.
end up.
Going to
Yeah.
finding,
Kind of-
finding God.
At their worst moment,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
tend to find God.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Of
crazy.
course, and that's the thing. It's like it contradicts itself. That one part of it says, "Oh well, God has a destiny for you. It's in God's plan." Jakat Agid XYZ, which all pretty much means the same thing. And my question to that is, and it's always been that, is if it's God's plan and if it's Jakat Agid, why do I have to pray? And I've never prayed for anything. I've never prayed for a higher power to give me something, whether it be a good health or money or a house or something good for my kids. I've never had to pray for any of that. I've never had the urge to pray. The feeling where you're so let down and broken. Not that I'm saying I'm so blessed. I've had my fair share of problems and heartaches and issues, but I've never said, oh God, can you please help me with XYZ? Because that to me in and itself is bullshit, because there's so many people praying for things that they will never see. There are innocent people who are kind and nice and that will never get what they want.
So basically your question is if and again, Chris, thanks for the call.
No problem.
So her question is, since God has our lives planned as far as Jakat Agir, if shit takes place, if stuff takes place and things take place as far as you want it to change, whether it's health reasons or this, why should we pray to God for health? Why should we pray to God for, and again, God forbid anybody falls into the hospital, you pray for them to get better. If Jakat Agir is already kind of planted for us.
Yeah. By the way, that whole concept, Jakat Agir destiny, completely unbiblical. That is actually what we call syncretism, where Armenian culture
brings it
and
up
beliefs have infused themselves into the Bible. The Bible does not teach this concept of complete and utter destiny, meaning human beings have no kind of choices in regards to how their futures line up.
It's
That's
already
not
made
in the
up
Bible.
for them.
It's written on your forehead. It's fated to happen. Fatalism is the official term, by the way. And fatalism comes from systems more on the eastern end of the world. So, for example, it's huge in Hinduism. So if you're poor and dying on the street, and people say, why is this guy dying on the street and poor? And they say, because he was fated to happen. Karma is punishing him. It's fated to happen.
So is
That's
their
not in
way for
Christianity. Yeah,
that society to
justify
make
human
it
suffering.
justifiable?
So it's for societies always try to justify human suffering and evil, which is the question Chris was asking. I love that question. Again, I don't want to comment too much on it because we want to have that discussion with Vahan. So the idea of Chakatagir fatalism is not in Christianity. Now, there is a version of it in this sense. If God knows all things, if God knows the future, which Christians claim that God does know the future, then what's the point of praying? Because he knows the future. It's already going to happen the way he knows it.
Destiny,
Yeah.
basically.
It's not necessarily destiny.
So what would it be?
It's called foreknowledge. So Christian theologians don't all agree on how to solve this predicament. I want to say that first and foremost. So there's maybe like 3 or 4 views one can hold to and still be within the confines of what we would call biblical orthodoxy. Okay, believing the right stuff. That's what I mean by orthodoxy means the right belief. So for somebody to say, hey, here's the biblical data we have, and here's the way we make sense of it in these 3-4 different ways. And really none of them are fatalism. Okay, some of them have a more stronger emphasis on God making the decisions and bringing about reality to happen. But it still puts a great deal of human responsibility on decisions we make. And some of them are not as much hard-hitting as to God making that come to be. We would say they probably range between like a complete free will that we would understand, and then go more towards what's called determinism. And we have these discussions within Christian circles. But why pray? Look, I don't think the future is necessarily like that. And I think, by the way, I think we pray not just because we want to ask God for stuff. I actually preached on this past Sunday, or a good portion of my sermon was on this. Is that there's different kinds of prayer in the Bible. And whenever we think about, like when we hear the word prayer, usually most of us think asking God for stuff. Okay, and that's not always the case. Sometimes there's sections of the Bible where it's prayer and it's just thanksgiving. It's just saying thanks. Sometimes there's complaints to God. That's considered a prayer. God, where are you? Why are you allowing this to happen? I don't like it. That's a prayer in the Bible. As a matter of fact, that's a template that you can find. Most of the Psalms are some sort of a complaint to God. Because the reality of human affairs is very difficult. Crap happens. That's people lose children in infancy. And they complain to God, and they should complain to God. Because that should be the normal, natural response to something evil that's taken place on us.
So how do you respond to a parent if you go to let's say children's hospital, all these little kids dealing with terminal illnesses, and if a parent approaches you and asks you, Pastor Arthur, all hospitals have a chaplain, right? Approaches the chaplain and asks the question of, why is this happening to my child? How could God allow for my 3-year-old, my 5-year-old to be dealing with leukemia or whatever they're dealing with? How do you respond to that?
Look, I think whenever this question is generally in what's called the problem of evil. It's in that line of thinking. And then the way we have to define it is that there's a logical problem of evil, and then there's an emotional problem of evil. So I would probably never respond to a mother asking me a question like that by giving them a 5-step logical argument. I will do what Jesus says to do in first and foremost, which is to weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. So I want to understand they have emotional pain, and you want to listen to that. You want to sit with them. You want to cry with them, because that's what's necessary. Look, I'll tell you this. There was a situation in our church where somebody from our church, her little cousin got run over. 3-year-old kid. Freak accident. And we went to visit the family in the hospital, and we walked in. I couldn't take it. It was like I saw my son laying down on the hooked up to all these. I broke down and started crying. And I think that's normal. And the parents were crying. That made sense to cry in a situation like that. Even if they came to me and said, tell me why God is allowing this, I wouldn't answer that question. Because I think whenever we are so emotionally riled up, we're not thinking very logically. So what I would do, not to avoid the question, but I would give it some time, go through a period of mourning and pain and loss, if that happens to be the case. And then we can sit down and talk about why there are reasons and why God possibly might allow some kind of evil in the world to exist. And again, I don't want to go into the other conversation, but I'll answer it in these two ways. One of them is that there's a natural problem of evil, meaning the world is functioning in a way, Christians call it a fallen world, where there's natural disasters and evils that just happen. There's disease and death. As a matter of fact, death is a
Pandemics.
Pandemics.
Look, we'll jump into that. No, because I think it's true. It's not like it would be a surprise that human beings.
I think we're due for another Noah's Ark.
Hang on, maybe so.
Are we almost there?
I don't ask me stuff like that, man. I don't comment on that. Look, there's natural stuff. There's freak accidents that happen, right? And Jesus's disciples confront him on questions like this. As a matter of fact, they confront him on a situation in which a tower has fallen and killed a bunch of people. And they say, why did this happen? And Jesus essentially says, because stuff happens. Because there's things in life that happen that, at least to us, are unexplainable.
But hold on, would you or should you jump into conclusion as far as saying, well, whatever happened was evil that took place? No, it wasn't evil. It was an accident.
So when we say evil in that kind of like a very narrow definition, we just mean suffering. We mean bad stuff. Okay. But let's imagine another situation about the tower falling. As a matter of fact, I'll give a philosophical one. Say you're driving down the road and then a boulder hits your car. Freak of an accident. You call your insurance agent and stuff like that. Cops get involved. Hey, boulder hit my car. They're like, how did it happen? I don't know. It was just driving. The boulder came and hit my car.
Was it a moving object?
Okay. Right? Like, whatever. Let's just they do it, right? But suppose they do an investigation and they find out that I'm up there and I push the boulder. Now there's human agency attached to the evil happening. One is a natural disaster, right? Whatever.
One is a human disaster.
It was raining and the soil was loose and the boulder came down and hit you. And the other one is human effort. Now, look, we all know that human beings have experimented on human beings, right? Recently, news came out about Fauci experimenting on dogs and stuff, and people are going crazy over it because they see this as human evil. Like, these animals are not,
meant for that purpose.
Okay,
like, why are you
won't be
punishing
on the news in another week. Okay.
Most likely.
Yeah, he experimented with billions of people. That was okay, but 2 beagles.
So let's go crazy, right? Let's go. Let's say if because we don't want this stuff to get pulled down and stuff like that. Look, I think it's common knowledge that white doctors, experimented on Native Americans, right? And basically they made it in a way where they can produce children.
Yeah.
What whose fault is that? God's? Or is that human evil? Because there's
definitely.
human freedom. So the answer to this question, I would say, is that it's called a free will defense for the problem of evil. That God has given human beings even the freedom to rebel against him and to do all sorts of evil. Okay. Now, God is going to make all of this come together because he's ultimately going to be just and the judge and the judger of all these things. No one's going to escape, right?
So what happens? I mean,
God will judge folks for the evil that they've done.
So what happens to the evil people?
God judges them.
And what happens to them?
Well, that's the thing. I would say they go to hell.
Okay, so basically, when you look at it, again, like it's like, okay, if God is sending you down to hell to be punished, he's basically building Satan's army.
No, Satan is this is another misconception.
Lucifer's army. He's working hand in hand. He's like, hey, Lucifer, here, take care of this one for me.
By the way, the Bible never presents Satan as one that lives in hell and has his own army and stuff like that. The Bible presents Satan at the end of the story to be in hell, burning and being judged like everyone else. That's not his like private kingdom. It's not his bat cave. Right? Like, that's just not biblical. Maybe popular culture presents that. But some of the last statements in the Bible is that Satan is taken and thrown into the lake of fire to be punished. As a matter of fact, the Bible...
For eternity.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bible says that hell was intended for Satan and his minions. Let's put it that way.
So you
That's the original intention.
we
of
had a
hell.
question about that. You do believe there's an afterlife, heaven and
Absolutely,
hell.
yeah. I think anybody who believes in Orthodox biblical Christianity has to.
Now, what's your belief as far as, is it a reunion of a family, or are those individuals no longer recognized by one another?
No. The Bible presents the eternal life as one of you having your memories, your identity, who you are, and you are recognizable.
And you're what, just roaming around?
You recognized
No.
as who?
Yourself.
But yourself, because there's a lot of theory as far as that this is not our first time on earth. We may have been here. Reincarnation,
Mhm.
right? So are you in heaven as a cat?
No.
As Armand,
so
or
the
as-
reincarnation stuff, again, I would say the reincarnation concepts, there's a couple of places reincarnation kind of sprouts its head. One of them is the Eastern religions. Another one is like Platonic, Plato's ideology, coupled with Socrates' ideology, has reincarnation embedded into it. Christianity does not have reincarnation embedded into it in any way. The Christian view of life, let me just generalize it, right? Like you're born, you are a soul, you have a soul, you have a soul, you have a body, and then when you die, okay, say if you believe in Jesus, you put your faith in Jesus and trust Him, then that guarantees you eternal life. Because remember, the whole substitution that happens, He died for your sins. That's where the forgiveness.
So I mean, what happens?
is applied.
Where do you go? You
So here's the
go to
thing.
heaven?
Yeah, but again, when you read the
But then
Bible,
there's Judgment Day.
yeah, but the judgment that you deserved is placed on Jesus. He
Instead of you being judged, Jesus is being judged?
look, okay, so let's get
No,
an analogy.
Jesus has already paid for your sins.
Yes, so He's been judged. For,
That's why
for
Esther
those.
said there's nobody in hell right now. Is that what it means?
Yeah, but I would say
I don't know, man.
it's not as clear cut as that. And Esther,
Fauci?
There's a lot of screwed up people that
Look,
died that
Esther's
should be
a-
in hell right now.
Esther's a really good friend of mine. He's not saying there is no one in hell as though they won't ever be there. He's saying currently they're not there. When they're ultimately judged, they will be there. Like hell will be their final
So where are they now?
unresting place.
Okay,
right?
but so where are they now?
Some people believe that they're asleep. They're in like what's the word? Like
Like a
it's called
coma?
soul sleep. Yeah, essentially. Like they're not aware of time passing by or anything
Okay,
like
so
that.
when you say eternal life, here's what I'm trying. So, I mean, eternal life. That's a long time.
It is a long
right?
time. Yeah.
So, does that mean do you reunite with your parents, your grandparents, your great
Sure.
grandparents? I mean, how far do you reunite, and how
as-
do you even recognize?
As
them?
long as human beings have been alive, and as long as those individuals say are Christians, then you will be recognizable. Now, here's what I would say is that God, being the all-knowing being, would give us access to a good amount of that information as to recognizing who and what that is. Now, one thing I want to add is that the Bible doesn't present heaven as the eternal final resting place. And this is very important. Again, this is one of the mistakes of the church, and then it's been taken by popular culture for us to believe that heaven is where everybody will just end up being. In Revelation chapter 21, the end of the Bible presents us with God recreating the earth. Okay? And then the people who belong to Him, the people who were meant to be in heaven, say, end up dwelling on earth with physical resurrected bodies. Physical resurrected.
Eternally.
Yes, eternally. Now this is a recreated earth. It's an earth that looks different. By its description, it looks different. As a matter of fact, the entire planet looks a lot like the original Garden of Eden. There's a tree. There are trees, multiple trees of life there, and again, these are, I think, imagery taken from the Garden of Eden. But this would be the eternal resting place for humanity. Now, what would a future like that look like, bro? I have no idea. And this is just speculation on my part, okay? At this point, I've told you what the Bible teaches, and then I'll speculate. Given the human history we've had with all the evil and corruption and all the stuff, we've made some crazy advancements.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I could just imagine the kind of advancements we can make without any of that junk.
Yeah, definitely.
Like without the
Absolutely.
disease,
So
without
you
the
think
death,
it would
without the
be
evil.
this perfect
Yeah,
environment
yeah.
in
And as a matter of
sense?
fact, the way the Bible presents this perfect environment is that God dwells with humans on earth.
Have you ever had conversations with mediums, clairvoyants about the afterlife?
Yes, some conversations I've had
And
with folks.
what do you?
Well, look, I think the spiritual world is a real place. It exists, and I think there are some people that, for some reason or another, genuinely have access to these things.
Can I tell
Now,
you?
it's not always the case. I think there's definitely frauds out there, but for some reason or another, I think there's people who access this sort of stuff. I'll tell you this: 2 stories. My oldest brother had a near-death experience where he says he died. I'm going off of his word. He died. He saw himself outside of his body. He saw my parents, like over his body,
No.
trying to see what's going on. And I want to say maybe he was like 16, 17 at the time, where he found himself in, let's say, this heavenly place. It wasn't heaven, but it was like he went through this tunnel.
And he remembers all that.
He remembers all of it. And as a matter of fact, if you ask him, he says he remembers it like it happened yesterday. And this old lady came and approached him, and essentially said, "There's 2 doors here. You got to go through one of them and stuff." And then he told her, "I don't want to go." And then he immediately found himself back into the tunnel, coming back into his body. Now he came back to it, and then he explained what this experience that had happened. And the lady, he described the lady to my parents and my dad till this day. My brother's 46 years old. Okay, this happened when he was 16, 17 years old. To this day, my dad says that was his great aunt. The description he gave of her looked exactly like her, according to him.
Oh,
And
wow.
my brother had never seen this lady. This lady had been dead way before he was born. Now, I've studied, not in detail, near-death experiences. Not all are legitimate, by the way. But the ones that are, and there's been quite a bit of data and research on this stuff, explaining hospital Zoom, people coming back and saying, "You put my dentures over there, give it back to me," like this sort of stuff, you know?
But are all the stories the same as far as the experience? The tunnel.
Almost all the stories have like 5 commonalities. One of them is a tunnel. Another one is like some kind of a former relative coming to visit them.
I've heard stories of a former relative who's already passed on saying like,
Yeah.
it's not your time.
Yes, that's very common. Now you see this stuff, right? Like, well, not see it, but
Well, some of my seniors, for some reason, like, 'cause at my facility where patients have passed away, I have existing residents living there, like seniors, that see some of the people who have already passed on, and they never met each other.
yeah,
But then
weird stuff.
the way they describe that individual, I've met them obviously before their passing. It's exactly that person that he or she's describing. That, oh, he's in my room, standing over there, and I'm like,
Dude, see, this is like, I think in the modern world we're very skeptical when it comes to some of these experiences, and maybe we should be.
There's a handful of people that know this one story. I think I told you guys when.
the one with William.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we moved into our home, and
he's a real estate. If you didn't know,
William and
I love the plugs,
I know,
man.
bro.
Keep it going.
William.
nobody ever plugs me.
Yeah. Hey guys,
Bro, everything we plug to you ends in death. What do you want?
guys, Lakeview Hospice.
Hey, people are dying to come see me. Shut
So
up.
Wow.
we call William.
I'm
over.
sorry, by the way, one comment. I'm sorry, bro. One of the things I realized being in Armenia, and I don't know when we were having dinner together, I mentioned this. Armenia has 0 hospice care.
Yeah,
And hospice care is very, very
in
important
Armenia,
because
you
in
mean.
Armenia,
Yeah,
to have a dignified death is an extremely important ethic we should have. And I thank God for people like you and facilities like that, because for most of the world, people are just left to die. The
Yeah.
sick, the elderly, they're completely not cared for. And so,
Bro,
again, not to make
that's all
light
of
of it,
Europe, man.
this is important.
It's all of Europe. But
Because we're every single one of us, there's this joke like they did research, they found out 10 out of 10 people are gonna die.
who paid for the study?
That's good. Some government agency, right? Here's $1 billion. Go study that. Sorry, go ahead.
We called William over, and mind you, I didn't call him over for anything specific, just to kind of feel out the energy in the house, run through it, basically.
William's a clairvoyant who's been on our show.
Yeah,
too.
he's been on the show.
Yeah.
He said, I want to make sure the only people in your home are you and your wife. No kids, no parents, nobody else. Because number one, kids are a distraction. And number two, he's like, if it's you guys living in that home, I want to make sure it's you. No problem. I said, when do you want to come over? How's tomorrow? Okay, no problem. Tomorrow. So we set the appointment. He came by, walked in. Well, this is Alina. Alina, Will. Hi, Will. Good seeing you again. Hey, how's it going? And I go, so where do you want to sit? He goes, well, you just sit in the dining room. No problem. He goes, so he sits down. The first thing he says is, so is the guy going to join us? I said, what guy? So the guy that just walked into that room. I'm like, Will, there's it's just me, I know, guy, I get chills when I tell the story. It's just me, my wife, and you in the home. He goes, okay, don't say anything anymore. Don't talk. So he gets up, he walks to that room, he opens it, it's a bathroom. And then he walks to the other door, he opens it, it's the laundry room. And then he walks over to the other door, he opens it, it's my daughter's bedroom. And he walks back out, he goes, can I go to the yard? Do whatever you. Mi casa es su casa. Do whatever you want. Can I get
Go
coffee?
find that guy.
Yeah, coffee, bun. So he goes out. My wife and I are looking at each other, and we're like, "We're fine. Don't worry." He comes back in. He sits down. He goes, "You guys aren't alone in this house." And I'm like, "Okay, so what's going on?" Have I told you guys this story?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I go, "So, what is it?" He goes, "There's an elderly man here." And I'm like, okay, is it a good spirit, bad spirit? I mean, what I'm going to bed here. The guy's in the other room, in my bathroom and stuff. He goes, no, he's a very happy, very positive spirit that's roaming around. But he's like, I'm just confused. He's like, the reason why I went outside is I'm trying to figure something out. I'm like, what happened? He goes, basically the spirit it comes in through the living room, bounces around that dining room, kitchen area. And he's like, it goes into the bathroom, the laundry room, and he goes, it gets stuck at your daughter's closet. But he's like, your daughter's room is just bursting with energy. And my daughter's a firecracker. She has a personality. She's like 3, but she's 4, going into 14. But he's like, it gets stuck at that closet. He goes, I don't know what it is. It stops there and it bounces back again. And I go, Will, that's the guy passed away there. That's where he died. But that wasn't a closet, and it wasn't a bathroom, and it wasn't a laundry room. That was his bedroom, which I converted it into a laundry room and a bathroom.
So you knew there was someone who had died?
Yeah, I knew. And where he said he stops at the closet, everything after the closet has been an addition to the home that I built.
So he doesn't know that area, basically.
Yeah, he didn't know. Yeah, he's So, and besides that, Will was like, I'm confused. Why is he stuck here? Like, there's a room.
Yeah.
And he's like, your bedroom doesn't have that energy either. I'm like, because my bedroom is an addition as well. And I was like, okay, so
did you pull permits?
So I was, of course, I pulled permits.
Okay. I'm just checking, bro.
Oh my god.
The Popo, man.
The spirits only recognize permitted.
Yeah.
Permitted areas only.
So to me, I was like, okay, so what now, bro? Like,
Tell him to go.
Yeah, I'm like, what do we do? He goes, he's lost. Like he thinks he's still here. And the one thing that kind of tripped me out was he was like, he's watching over your daughter, because that's why he didn't have any kids. There was no family as far as like immediate, which he was right. The guy didn't have any kids. He was never married. So he's like, I'm gonna go tell him, like, dude, it's time to go. Like, your time has come and gone. I was like, what are you gonna? You just gonna go? Hey,
send him an email.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you gonna? He goes, don't. He's like, I know how to. Like I know what to do. And again, there was no bad energy in the house. There was no like anything that we felt. It was for me just kind of like, okay, let me bring him in. Let me see what's going on. And like, what do you say to something like that?
Yeah, look, man. I don't know, because the Bible doesn't in detail give us any kind of explanation and details about some of this stuff. Okay, we see angels in the Bible. We see angels in human form, as a matter of fact, in the Bible.
The Bible doesn't say to not believe.
Well,
clairvoyants or mediums who are going to talk to spirits.
So I would say, do you not believe them? Like, what do we mean by that? Like, don't talk to them, don't interact with them. Now, the Bible speaks against mediums, people who contact the dead and stuff like that. Old Testament is very clear about that. I would agree with that.
Why?
Partly because we have access to God. So instead of me dealing with any kind of a weird spirit roaming around, I have no idea what that is, by the way, right? Like, could be demonic spirits, for example. And I don't want to even mess with that stuff, right? Just this is my personal opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to mess with that stuff. And so what do I do is I go to God. Okay, God, you're the most powerful one. You know this stuff. You can take care of it. I have no idea what's going on here, but there's clearly spiritual entities around that. I mean, they could be angels in the sense of like good, protecting this, that. Now, I don't think dead people roam the earth. Now, that creates a problem for me as to explaining some people seeing quote unquote ghosts. And I don't necessarily have the full answers for this stuff, but I genuinely believe that stuff exists. It's out there. I think the world is a lot more active in the unseen sense than we like it to be. I think if we actually saw what was going on in the unseen realm, we'd freak out quite a bit. But there's quite a bit of activity, and I would say there's all sorts of warfare and stuff like that being engaged. I'll give you a story, by the way. My wife and I got married. We got married in May 4th. Star Wars Day.
Wife's birthday.
That's my birthday.
So
It's your birthday?
May 4th.
Mine and his wife's birthday.
So my third son ended up being born on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. But we got married, and so that's May. June, I go on a retreat with some friends, and I have a dream. And in my dream,
How dare you? Like a month after you got married, on a retreat with friends.
not with friends. It was a work
Couples,
retreat.
maybe.
No, it was a work retreat.
Okay.
It was a work
let it
retreat,
slide.
pastoral work retreat.
Edgar's
Kind of
burning everybody today. My permits.
no,
Okay. 1 month after.
You want to tell people about his circumcision too?
I wasn't going to, but you just did.
That's why he wasn't here last month.
Yeah,
He was recovering.
guys, listen. We've been having shows on and off for a reason.
Oh man.
Go ahead, Arthur.
So I have this dream. Where my wife is having a child,
Yeah.
and I'm not one of those people that has dreams all the time. And I'm not one who just wakes up and goes, "Oh, that's from God." I'm very skeptical, man. So I open my eyes, and it's like knowledge I have, like that there was water in this cup. Like I'm not even doubting it, which is very unusual for me. And I'm just like, she's pregnant. I know she's pregnant. So, we get the day going and stuff. I call her up, just like nonchalantly. I'm like, you're pregnant. I had a dream. I think God told me you're pregnant. She's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Enjoy your retreat, then come back. Like, okay. So we go back. It's just the thought is not leaving me. Almost every single day I'm waking up. I'm like, she's pregnant. That's it, And I keep telling her this.
bro.
Well, here's the thing. I keep telling her, you're pregnant. She's like, no, I'm not. You know what you're talking about. You're pregnant. It's like normal conversation for like 3 weeks, right? And one Sunday we're driving home, and I was like, I can't take this anymore, man. I can't, you're pregnant? She's like, I'm not pregnant. So I just drove to CVS. I was like, go get pregnancy test. You're going to go home. We're going to solve this problem. She goes, she gets the pregnancy test. We go home. She takes the test. She yells. And I was like, everything okay? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. No, it didn't work. I was like, okay. And so she lied to me. She'd taken the test twice already. And she yelled because she couldn't believe it. She comes out and she says, the test says I'm pregnant, but I don't believe it. I was like, okay, let's make an appointment, go see a doctor. We go see a doctor. And that was Sunday. I think we went and saw the doctor on a Thursday. And the doctor says, you're 5 weeks pregnant. Now, I had that dream a week into her pregnancy.
That's early.
Okay, now that's very, very early, right? And so she says, the doctor says, I'm going to do an ultrasound. She's like kind of calming us down. Like, you're not going to see anything, it's just going to be some, a blob and stuff like that. Don't expect a heartbeat. She's just saying stuff like this. We're like, okay, fine. She's doing the ultrasound, and there's a clear heartbeat, like as clear as can be. She's shocked. She's like, man, this is a strong kid. He's got a crazy heartbeat, And my wife says, we heard the heartbeat, so I could be convinced. Like, there's a baby.
There's a human inside.
There's a human inside me. And it was nuts, because there's no way I can logically explain that. I'm saying this because I had to have a dream. We weren't planning on having kids. We actually were in disagreement as to when to have kids,
But
and
dreams. I mean,
but what's the likelihood?
Normally dreams are things that go on throughout a day, a week, a month, that kind of fill up in your brain, and your brain kind of takes it and just like plasters it on the wall.
Look, I don't disagree with you. I think a vast majority of dreams are just whatever our subconscious reflecting
Yeah.
on events in the day and stuff. But when I run out of naturalistic explanations to things, like when I run out of kind of these, hey, this is why it happened, the other day one of my friends said, bro, you were in my dream all night, you're yelling at me, like everything I was doing, you're correcting me and yelling at me. And I was like, bro, I don't know what you're thinking about me. I'm not mad at you, it's okay, like
in English terms, you slept with your ass open.
your buttocks was
Exposed.
It's like you can understand
you
that. And
said
we were in
buttocks?
I did
Oh
I said
my
butt.
God.
I said butt.
Buttocks.
Yes.
Damn,
So-
I heard that word for a while,
Oh,
bro.
man. So again, I think I think it's reasonable for us to try to explain things in a naturalistic sense, right? But when you run out of room, what are you left with? Because if the explanation is not a naturalistic explanation, right? Say it's a supernatural explanation. For example, the existence of the universe, we run out of room for a naturalistic explanation. So it leaves us with there must be a supernatural origin to the universe. Something beyond it, something greater than it, had to have brought this into existence. Because the naturalistic stuff just doesn't do it. It really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, again, we can do research on it and see.
Oh, I highly recommend it.
What was exactly the Big Bang Theory and how it exactly happened? I don't know enough
And
about
you think
it.
you're gonna do research and figure it out?
Now, can we
No,
talk about
I say
can
we,
we talk about
whoever-
religion and effects on humans overall throughout
Sure.
times?
Yeah.
Can we go back to that question, guys? There's maybe
It's your
time
show,
for
man. I'm the guest.
I'm trying to figure out what your thoughts are.
we can have Arthur back.
Definitely we will, but I have to ask you this, Arthur.
Go ahead. Are we gonna end this? Is that where the
Very
direction
soon.
we're
Very
going?
We're
soon.
almost
15,
there.
20
Okay,
minutes.
your call, man.
We're almost there.
Look,
Mind you, we're gonna have you back.
look.
Yeah.
I,
He says that to everybody, by the way.
I start
You gotta hold
functioning
him to
and
it.
thinking
It's a good-
late at
I'll
night.
show you a finger,
See,
but
we're opposites.
This is when I start doing my best thinking. Okay,
So with your best thinking, let's talk about this. Would society, human beings overall, be better off with or without existence of all religion?
look.
And then what's the purpose of religion within the human beings?
Look, I think all religion is an effort to figure out life, to figure out the mysteries
Has
of
nothing
life. To
control.
answer,
Control has nothing to do with it.
no, I'm giving benefit of the doubt here.
Okay.
So I think religion generally is an effort to answer the major questions of life we have. There's probably 5 major questions of life we have, right?
Where do
Like
we come
why are
from?
we here? Where do we come from? Why be good?
Where are we going?
Where are we going? Who am I? Stuff like
Yes.
that. And all religions aim at answering this question. Could people and have people take in whatever's been established in the effort to answer these questions and used it for evil purposes? Absolutely. I think history is very clear about that. There are definitely religions, I would say, we would do way better without. Okay?
Which ones?
Specifically, I would say Hinduism. I think Hinduism, the system in Hinduism, naturally produces a caste system.
Ironically, they're up and coming more now than ever.
In the Western version of it,
Yes.
not in India. The reason why is because Hinduism naturally the system itself produces a caste system. If you're doing well in life, you were meant to be doing well in life. If your life sucks and you're dying on the streets, poor, without any parents, and whatever.
Chakadagiri is a big thing for
Exactly,
them,
it is that.
basically.
It's fated to happen. And so right now, India's being rocked with capitalism because that system doesn't leave room for capitalism. Because in capitalism, you can come and the poor guy in the village that they were saying was a, lower caste, goes and works for Google and then takes care of his whole village, and his village is now interacting with a higher caste. And it's like, what do we do? How does our religion make
Out
room
of
for this?
1,000 just succeeded.
Yeah, and again, they got to make their religion has to give. The other one I would say that has been a scourge to humanity has been Islam. Okay, I think Islam started, and contrary to popular modern Western opinions, the history of Islam from its founding, maybe the first 15 years it wasn't like this, but is utterly and extremely violent. Okay, And I mean, we are a
So
part.
they're not the most peaceful religion.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Mm.
Anybody who says that is like has.
I won't say peaceful, but is it a stronger religion than Christianity?
Look, is it stronger?
In what way?
Yeah, it
In
tells
what
you,
way?
It tells you to go kill people and enslave their daughters. Yeah, I mean Christianity doesn't teach
In
that.
what way, though? I'm telling you, the Muslim religion, they pray 8 times a day or 7 times a
5
day.
times.
5 times
Yeah.
a day. That's 5 times someone's doing exercise without even wanting to do exercise.
Yeah.
When they get to the age of 18, they have some form of exercise with just praying 5 times a day.
Would you
I
call it? Wait, hold on.
understand.
But would you call it exercise or would you call it brainwashing?
Listen, bro, I'm
Well,
talking
there's
physical.
there's a physical
portion of it.
action that takes
I
place. when
call.
they're doing that.
I'm sorry, but I call. I say Islam is probably the most brainwashed. Religion
Look, I'll tell
out
you this.
there.
There's something interesting about Islam that a lot of people don't pay attention to. For example, in Islam, in their theological perspective, is that the revelation of God, the Quran, is only in Arabic. Any translation of the Quran is not the Quran. It's only the Arabic version. Everything else is a translation is bad. Like
And-
Christians don't believe this about the Bible, by the way.
And you read the Quran, right?
Huh? I haven't read all of it.
Okay. Who's those? This is one thing you'll know. Whose name is mentioned more in the Quran than any other person?
Oh, Jesus is a commonly referred figure in.
Can you
By the way,
imagine that?
Jesus
This is in the
referred to
Quran.
As
Jesus.
soon as you talk about the Quran, there's the I can't pronounce the guy's name.
Marat Chaglayan. Okay,
Chaglayan.
no, that's hyperbolic. Okay, Marat or Murat. Murat, not Marat. Look, I think you are probably on a certain interpretation when it comes to Islamic theology. Instead of, I would generally with religions. Here's what I would say: see how the founders and the first audience practiced that religion. Because look, it's different for you to say how Arthur practices Christianity than for you to say how did Jesus' disciples practice Christianity, right? I mean, they're closer to the data. They should be more trustworthy. Was Muhammad going around hugging people and
But
telling
then
them,
the way
you know,
we
you're
think
the best?
about it today, Arthur, you're someone I could talk to.
Yeah.
The disciples aren't.
No, I know. What I'm saying is
You know?
you can observe them and say, well, he's saying it's hyperbolic kind of stuff. And I think Murat has commented on some of my stuff.
Well, he's from Europe, so he's not.
Yeah,
even
he says
from
it's Tesphere. Look, I think there's quite a bit of data out there, early Quranic interpretation and commentaries, like the Hadiths comment on what you should do to slaves, what the way women are to be treated. All of those things are out there, and this is the first, second generation that we're looking at. Now, if he says it's not, it's all hyperbole and stuff like that, then his issue is with Muslim scholars, not with me. He can go debate that within Islamic circles. And I think that's completely fine. If Muslims are going to get up there and say, hey, all this stuff, all the war language, all the killing, all the raping, all the taking young girls as slaves and stuff like that, if they're going to say that's all hyperbole, we're not taking any of that literally. It's all in the spiritual sense. I'm going to say, hey, that's fine. I mean, I'm not a Muslim, so that's your religion. Do it. And live at peace with people. But the question is a historical one. Did Muhammad actually do that? How many wives did Muhammad have? How young was his wife?
How old or
how
young
young?
were they?
How old was he? He was like 52. Depending who you trust, his youngest wife is either 9 or 6. And some people really try to push it to like 12, 13. But the text clearly
Yeah,
refers
homie
to
was
her not
busy
having
as
menstrual
hell.
cycles and stuff like that. Really. Very. Right. So, look, I think there's quite a bit of violence that's brought into the world. Now, you could say, well, yeah, but Islam preserved certain things and, certain Greek philosophy. And it did. There's no question about that. I'm not going to deny that.
But there's just certain things in there that
yeah.
just don't sit well.
Yeah. Now, he asked my personal opinion, so I gave my personal opinion. I mean, there's
that's,
plenty of
this is
Christians might say,
this is
no.
all personal opinion,
Yeah.
guys. I mean, the whole show is about personal.
Well, I mean,
opinion.
look, there are things that I fundamentally think are a reality of existence, and I think all people should believe because it's the truth of it. There's things like what I think about Hinduism or Buddhism or something. Like, I think Buddha was a lousy guy. A lot of people think he was a really nice guy. Why do I think he was a lousy guy?
Because he was chunky? Is that
No, he can be chunky all he wants. He was a lousy guy because he had a wife and a newborn son that he left and went in search of nirvana. And I think he abandoned his duties as a father. Nobody talks about this about the Buddha, right? Like, how do you leave your infant? Like, you got to be a lousy guy to do that. I don't care what you're searching for. Like, just don't do that. And he did. So that's my personal opinion. Now, somebody say, Art, you don't know what you're talking about. There's all sorts of reasons. I'm willing to be wrong and accept that. But my opinions are on that stuff. It's like, I don't know, 10%
Yeah, I know
firmness.
Dude, thanks so much for taking time out of your Monday to be with us. We're
Oh,
gonna have
I
you.
appreciate it, guys.
Thank you,
I think
Arthur.
the next time you'll be back is with Setan probably sitting here.
Oh, that I would love that.
I mean, we were excited for it, but this turned out great as well. This was a great conversation.
We can go out for a few
Can
more
I
hours.
throw a plug for the stuff that I do?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
That's
of course,
okay with you guys?
absolutely,
Of course,
absolutely.
This is
Yeah.
a wiseness, man.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so for those who are interested, okay, I have my own YouTube channel called Apologia Center, and
We'll plug
here-
it into the body.
yeah, I'll put
plug
it here.
into the
I'll
body.
put the comment here so everybody sees. And I do live streams, and a lot of the time I make pre-recorded videos, Christian responses to like politics and whatever's happening in culture. But I usually do live videos where I answer questions like on the fly.
Yeah.
So people could just jump in there and say, "Hey, what about this part in the Bible? I don't get it," or "I disagree with you," and we'll have that kind of conversation. And I also interview like Christian scholars
Nice.
that I have some sort of relationship with, and we'll call them and we'll have a dialogue about the specific subject. So if you guys want to go subscribe and follow me on that, then
Guys, go
for it.
subscribe, go follow, click the bell notification, and
Follow
give
Arthur. Follow
Arthur.
Wise Nuts.
Yeah, give
Yeah.
Arthur a follow. Other than that, guys, we're on this episode will be on Spotify, iTunes, and all the good stuff tomorrow. Daily memes are they're there, guys. They're there. Alec Baldwin.
And they're going to hit you harder than ever.
Alec Baldwin.
They're
baby.
coming after you.
I got 2 more Alec Baldwins I'm going to be posting tonight. So daily memes are there. Follow us on Instagram, guys. Wise Nuts Podcast. We'll be back next week. Not the week after. Next week.
What's next week? November 1st?
November
It is
1st.
the 1st.
Yes. Oh, we got a nice
have a
episode.
guest.
Yeah, we got a nice episode next week. Let's call I don't really, let's just leave it at that. We got- surprise. It's a nice episode. You'll find out Saturday who's going to be here. So, guys, have a great week. Have a great weekend.
Ooh.
Sending you positive energy, and hasta next lunes.
It's lunes or
Next-
miércoles?
No, lunes.
It's Lunas, bro.
Lunes, bro. Lunes.
I don't even
lunes.
speak Spanish and I know that one.
No, seriously.
Thanks,
Lunes,
Arthur.
martes,
Amazing, bro.
miércoles.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Arthur.
Thanks,
Have a great
man.
week,
Thanks for
guys.
coming
in.
See you guys
God
next
bless.
week.